Live on News Nation, news for all America. The lights are on. The field is set. It's game day in Alabama. And who knows what the tide will roll in.
Live from the University of Alabama. I'm Megyn Kelly, host of the Megyn Kelly Show podcast on SiriusXM.
I'm Eliana Johnson with the Washington Free Beacon.
And I'm Elizabeth Vargas with News Nation, and we are live on News Nation and the CW. It is make or break time for the candidates on this stage right now, with the primary starting just weeks away.
Except for Donald Trump,
and
who's too much of a chicken shit to be on the
over the next
debate
2
stage.
hours. So let's begin with tonight's rules. Candidates will have 90 seconds to answer questions, 60 seconds to give a rebuttal at the moderator's discretion. You will all see the timing lights that will indicate when time is up and it's time to stop talking.
And the time we have is critical over the next 2 hours, so we ask the audience to please keep your applause to a minimum.
All right, with that, let's get started. On stage tonight, 4 candidates, all vying to become their party's nominee. And given the state of affairs in our political system right now, one of you might very well do it. Even many Democrats now admit that President Biden is a weak candidate, just as many Republicans acknowledge that former President Donald Trump's multiple legal troubles could imperil his quest for a second term, all of which means one of you could wind up the leader of the free world. You might be preferable to Mr. Trump.
50 points, my ass. Tell him to get his fat ass on this stage.
Governor
How about
DeSantis.
that?
Your campaign and its super PAC have spent the most money, had the most high net worth donors, and had a wave of momentum coming into this race after your big re-election win in Florida. You were seen by many as the candidate most likely to consolidate the non-Trump field. But here we are, a month out from the first real votes, and you haven't managed to do it. In fact, Nikki Haley is beating you in New Hampshire and South Carolina now, and closing in on you in Iowa, not to mention Trump, who is not only dominating in the early states, but is beating you in Florida by over 30
Well, then
points.
where is he? Where is his
fair
fat
to say,
ass?
as Senator Tim Scott did when he dropped out, that voters are telling you, not no, but not now.
No, what
So
the,
we
what
have a
is
great
this?
idea in America that the voters actually make these decisions.
That's right.
Not pundits or pollsters.
That's
I'm
right.
sick of hearing about these polls because I remember those polls in November of 2022. They said there was going to be a big red wave. It was going to be monumental, and that crashed and burned. The one place it didn't crash and burn was in the state of Florida. They weren't predicting that I would win the way I did, and I won the greatest Republican victory in the history of the state of Florida. I'm looking forward to Iowa and New Hampshire. The voters are going to be able to speak, and
Trump
we're going
lost
to
to
earn this
Biden.
nomination. And here's what we need. I am sick of Republicans who are not willing to stand up and fight back against what the left is doing to this country. You've got to be willing to stand strong, and you've got to be willing to beat these people. I'm the only one running for president that has beaten these people on issue after issue. We beat the teachers' unions when we did school choice. We beat Fauci on COVID. We beat George Soros when we removed 2 of his radical district attorneys. We beat the Democrats on election integrity. I have delivered results. That's what we need for this country. And you have other candidates up here like Nikki Haley. She caves anytime the left comes after her, anytime the media comes after her. I did a bill in Florida to stop the gender mutilation of minors. It's child abuse and it's wrong. She opposes that bill. She thinks it's fine and the law shouldn't get involved with it. If you're not willing to stand up for the kids, if you're not willing to stand up and say that it is wrong to mutilate these kids, then you're not going to fight for the people back home. I will fight for you and I will win for you.
There we go. There we go. Screw you, Trump. Screw you, Megyn
You left
Kelly.
government service in 2018 with just $100,000 in the bank. 5 years later, you're reportedly worth $8 million, thanks to lucrative corporate speeches and board memberships like you had with Boeing. Weeks ago, you met with Wall Street heavyweights, including leaders from JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and BlackRock. Several other billionaire investors are reportedly ready to endorse you, or recently have, all of which comes with expectations. Aren't you too tight with the banks and the billionaires to win over the GOP's working class base, which mostly wants to break the system, not elect someone beholden to it?
Well, thank you. It's great to be here. You know, first I'll tell you, just to respond to Ron, he continues to lie about my record. I actually said his Don't Say Gay bill didn't go far enough because it only talked about gender until the 3rd grade. And I said it shouldn't be done at all, that that's for parents to talk about. It shouldn't be talked about with schools. In reference to donors coming on board, look, we will take support from anybody we can take support from. But I have been a conservative fighter all my life. I was a Tea Party candidate when I became governor. We opposed every single corporate bailout we possibly could. We passed tort reform. We passed one of the toughest illegal immigration laws in the country. We passed pro-life bills. We moved in unemployment from 11% to 3%. We took on the unions, and we took on Obama when it came to the unions, the Syrian refugees, and everything in between. And so I've had a fight. And so as much as Ron says that, that's not true. But when it comes to these corporate people that want to suddenly support us, we'll take it. But I don't ask them what their policies are. They ask me what my policies are. And I tell them what it is. Sometimes they agree with me, sometimes they don't. Some don't like how tough I am on China. Some don't like the fact that I've signed pro-life bills. Some don't like the fact that I may oppose corporate bailouts. That doesn't matter. That's who I am. And that's why the most conservative grassroots group in the country, Americans for Prosperity, endorsed me last week.
Well, because he didn't respond to the criticism. It wasn't about the Parents' Rights and Education bill. It was about prohibiting sex change operations on minors. They do puberty blockers. These are irreversible. Talk to Chloe Cole. She went through this. Now she's an adult. She's warning against it. She may never be able to have kids again. That is what Nikki Haley opposed. She said the law shouldn't get involved in that. And I just ask you, if you're somebody that's going to be the president of the United States and you can't stand up against child abuse, how are you going to be able to stand up for anything? That is the truth. We have it on video.
I said that if you have to be 18 to get a tattoo, you should have to be 18 to have anything done to change your gender.
You said the law should stay out of it.
We're gonna get to this in more detail later. Let's finish with electability, but trust me, we're coming back to this issue. Mr. Ramaswamy, for months you campaigned as a unifier. Then you stood up at the first debate and attacked all of your competitors as bought and paid for. The second debate, you changed your tune, saying these are good people on this stage, admitting you can come across as a bit of a know-it-all and rejecting the practice of personal insults. By debate number 3, you called Nikki Haley corrupt, accused Ron DeSantis of wearing high heels, and told Ambassador Haley she should keep a closer eye on her daughter. Can you see how this has led some to conclude you are not, in fact, a unifier, and to question your authenticity?
Why is he even on stage?
There's a time and place for everything.
Well,
we need somebody in the White House
why are you even on stage, you
is
prick?
going to be a fighter when it counts.
You little
and
dweeb.
I did say that there were some good people on that stage in that third debate. Doug Burgum was on that stage at that time, and I'll say that jokingly. Ron DeSantis is a good person, too. I want to go back, though, to Nikki Haley's comment from earlier that she is somehow not responding to the will of these donors. Nikki, you were bankrupt when you left the UN. After you left the UN, you became a military contractor. You actually started joining service on the board of Boeing, whose back you scratched for a very long time, and then gave foreign multinational speeches like Hillary Clinton is, and now you're a multimillionaire. That math does not add up. It adds up to the fact that you are corrupt. And when I said they were bought and paid for, I meant the Republican establishment, not the Democratic establishment. Now you have Reid Hoffman, the person who's effectively George Soros Jr., funding lawsuits across this country against Donald Trump to keep him off the ballot, funding left-wing causes. We discovered this week that he is one of Nikki Haley's largest supporters. Larry Fink, the king of the woke industrial complex, the ESG movement, the CEO of BlackRock, the most powerful company in the world, now supporting Nikki Haley. And to say that doesn't affect her is false, because it's after that meeting later that day that she says that every American needs to be doxxed by having their ID, their government-issued ID, tied to what they say on the internet. So I think that this is far more corrupt than I even imagined when I entered politics. But I will say this. It is going to take a leader from the outside with fresh legs from the next generation to unite this country. Not the broken politicians who are puppets of the puppet masters, but the actual people in this country. Thomas Jefferson was 33 when he wrote the Declaration of Independence. I think it's going to take somebody whose best days in life are still ahead to see a country whose best days are ahead of itself. And I think I can reach that next generation better than anybody else in this race.
Thank you. Response.
Megan.
Yeah, some of that wasn't too bad. All right.
First of all, we weren't bankrupt when I left the UN. We're people of service. My husband is in the military, and I served our country as UN ambassador and governor. It may be bankrupt to him, but it certainly wasn't bankrupt to us. Secondly, I did serve on the board of Boeing. I did a lot of work with Boeing when I was governor. They were a great partner to me. I served for 10 months. And then when they decided after COVID that they wanted to go for a corporate bailout, I've never supported corporate bailout, so I respectfully stepped back and got off the board. I love Boeing. They build good commercial airplanes. They build airplanes for our Air Force. I am proud of them. They employ a lot of people in South Carolina. But that's why I left the Boeing board. There's nothing to what he's saying. And in terms of these donors that are supporting me, they're just jealous. They wish that they were supporting them. But I'm not going to sit there and deny
Let me get the governor in and then I'll go.
And Vivek, he wrote a book talking about ESG and these woke corporations and BlackRock. The idea that I want to do that in Florida, they were managing our part of our pension, and then when they did the ESG, I took $2 billion away from BlackRock. We took action. This ESG, they call it environment, social governance, and again, Nikki is meeting with all these people. They want to use economic power to impose a left-wing agenda on this country. They want basically to change society without having to go through the constitutional process. We've kneecapped it in the state of Florida. The next president of the United States needs to be able to go to that office on day one and end ESG. And the fact of the matter is, we know from her history, Nikki will cave to those big donors when it counts. And that is not acceptable.
I did write that book, Ron, and the irony is Nikki Haley was heaping praise on me when I wrote that book, but now I worry. I was warning about the woke industrial complex in this country as a warning. Apparently, she read it as a how-to manual, just like she reads George Orwell's books.
I'm liking Vivek tonight. I hate to say it.
This is really important for people to understand. We're marching towards fascism under Biden. Jack Smith has subpoenaed every last retweet that someone has issued from Donald Trump in the year 2020. The only person more fascist than the Biden regime now is Nikki Haley, who thinks the government should identify every one of those individuals with an ID. That is not freedom, that is fascism, and she should come nowhere near the levers of power, let alone the White House.
He's not wrong.
No, but can I just say,
can you speak to,
he's not wrong.
Good to see it.
Can you please speak to the requirement that you said that every anonymous internet user needs to out themselves? They're both hitting you on it.
I would be happy to, and I love all the attention, fellas. Thank you for that. I'll say this. What I said was that social media companies need to show us their algorithms. I also said there are millions of bots on social media right now. They're foreign, they're Chinese, they're Iranian. I will always fight for freedom of speech for Americans. We do not need freedom of speech for Russians and Iranians and Hamas. We need social media companies to go and fight back on all of these bots that are happening. That's what I said. As a mom, do I think that social media would be more civil if we went and had people's names next to that? Yes, I do think that, because I think we've got too much cyberbullying. I think we've got child pornography and all of those things. But having said that, I never said government should go and require anyone's name.
That's false.
She said, I want your name.
She
as President of the United States, her first day in office, she said, one of the first things I'm going to do,
I said we were going to get the millions of bots.
She wants government ID to dox every American.
That's what she said. You can roll the tape. She said, I want your name. And that was going to be one of the first things she did in office. And then she got real serious blowback, and understandably so, because it'd be a massive expansion of government. We have anonymous speech. The Federalist Papers were written with anonymous writers. Jay, Madison, and Hamilton, they went under Publius. It's something that's important, and especially given how conservatives have been attacked and they've lost jobs and they've been canceled. You know the regime would use that to weaponize that against our own people. It was a bad idea, and she should own up to it.
Come on, what are you doing here? 15 seconds, and then there is the governor, former governor of New Jersey.
This cracks me up because Ron is so
you.
hypocritical, because he actually went and tried to push a law that would stop anonymous people from talking to the press, and went so far to say bloggers should have to register with the state if they're going to talk about elected officials.
That's a lie.
It was in the check your newspaper.
It's
it was
a lie.
absolutely there. I have never said
No more.
Trample on your constitutional
You can come back to
rights.
it later.
This is more dangerous than the Democrats.
You're lying.
This section's over. Okay. Governor Christie.
Really?
Just that
I'm
piece.
usually not somebody who gets missed, but okay, let's go.
What's happening? Okay, I got you.
What's he even doing up there?
Listen, you endorsed Donald Trump in 2016 and 2020. You gave him an A for his first term. Since then, however, you've turned on him, calling him a liar, a loser, a con man, and someone who cannot win.
Yeah, he's all those things.
You've even said that you got into this race just to stop President Trump. His approval rating with Republicans is currently at 81%. Yours is at 25. Your best state is New Hampshire, and even there, 2/3 of GOP voters say they would be angry and disappointed if you won. Respectfully, Governor, you have not stopped Mr. Trump, and voters may wonder how you could possibly become the nominee of a party that does not appear to like you very much.
Yeah, well, look, Megyn, it's often very difficult to be the only person on the stage who's telling the truth, and the only person who is taking on what needs to be taken on. I look at my watch now. We're 17 minutes into this debate, and except for your little speech in the beginning, we've had these three acting as if the race is between the four of us. The fifth guy, who doesn't have the guts to show up and stand here, he's the one who, as you just put it, is way ahead in the polls. And yet, I've got these three guys who are all seemingly to compete with, Voldemort, he who shall not be named. They don't want to talk about it. The fact is that when you go and you say the truth about somebody who is a dictator, a bully, who has taken shots at everybody, whether they've given him great service or not over time, who dares to disagree with him, then I understand why these three are timid to say anything about it. Maybe it's because they have future aspirations. Maybe those future aspirations are now, or maybe they're 4 years from now. But the fact of the matter is the truth needs to be told. And for us to go 17 minutes without discussing the guy who has all those gaudy numbers you talked about is ridiculous. I'm in this race because the truth needs to be spoken. He is unfit. This is a guy who just said this past week that he wants to use the Department of Justice to go after his enemies when he gets in there. I mean, the fact of the matter is, he is unfit to be president, and there is no bigger issue in this race, Megyn, than Donald Trump, and those numbers prove it.
Governor Christie.
He's right.
We will be addressing that issue of Donald Trump in just a moment, but I'd like to first get to some questions on Israel. Governor DeSantis, tonight as we speak, the war is back on in Gaza. Israeli tanks are on the move and have surrounded the home of the leader of Hamas. 8 Americans have been held hostage in the tunnels beneath Gaza for 60 days now. American troops and warships in the Middle East are under attack. How far would you go as president to secure the release of those 8 American hostages? And would it include sending American forces into combat?
We have to look out for our people. When there are hostages, Commander-in-Chief, you have to do whatever you can to get them done. But the overall issue with this is this administration is trying to hobble Israel from being able to defend itself. They have a right to eliminate Hamas and win a total and complete victory so that they never have to deal with this again. Hamas wants nothing less than a second Holocaust. They would wipe off every single Jew off the map. They would destroy the state of Israel if we could. Joe Biden will say they support Israel, and then they do nothing but try to kneecap them every step of the way. You should not try to direct their war effort. We should work together with them so that they can bring Hamas to heel. Look, I served in Iraq back in the day. I'm the only one running for president that served in the military. I understand that part of the world. It's not the best part of the world. We do have troops there that Biden is leaving basically as sitting ducks. And you have the Iranians that are attacking these troops, and he's responding with basically pinpricks. If you harm an American service member, you're going to have hell to pay when I'm president. We are not going to let our troops be sitting ducks. We also need to look at what's the underlying problem here. Iran. Biden is doing nothing to bring Iran to account. You got to turn the screws on them. Don't let them have any oil revenue. The money they get they send to Hamas, they send to Hezbollah, and they foment jihad throughout the Middle East. So Biden has empowered Iran just like he's empowered other adversaries. We stand with Israel. They're our best ally in the Middle East. We have a unique relationship with them, and you will see a strong relationship when I'm the president of the United States.
But would you send American troops?
Elizabeth, look, this is the problem with the first three debates. Ron gets asked a question, and he doesn't answer it. Your question was very specific. You said, would you send American troops as commander-in-chief? And he went on to this minute and 30-second hosanna about his knowledge of the military and what we need to do, and didn't answer your question. Look, when you're president of the United States, you're not going to have a choice whether to answer that question or not. Your generals, your Secretary of Defense, your Secretary of State, your National Security Advisor are going to present plans to you. They're going to look at you and say, do we go or don't we, Mr. President? And you can't give a 90-second speech about your military service, as laudable as it is.
Would you send American troops in to rescue those hostages?
Absolutely. If they had a plan that showed me that we could get them out safely, you're damn right I'd send the American Army in there to get our people home and get them home now. And I'll answer that question directly.
He would send troops, man.
Mr. Ramaswamy, you have said it was irresponsible for Ambassador Haley to call Hamas's terrorist rampage an attack on America and for her to, quote, rabidly shout, finish them, end quote. The Hamas terror attack left dozens of Americans dead and was the deadliest attack on Jews since the Holocaust. Why wouldn't it be a good thing to finish Hamas?
Finish them was purposefully vague in a discussion that included Iran, which is what I objected to. And I think it's, as U.S. president, you have to be responsible. What happened to Israel was dead wrong. What Hamas did was medieval. It was subhuman. It was immoral. And we have to call that out for what it is on October 7th. But to say that that was an attack on America fails a basic test. I mean, Nick, if you can't tell the difference between where Israel is and the U.S. is on a map, I can have my 3-year-old son show you the difference. That is irresponsible because it has major consequences, because that doesn't leave room for what actually is an attack on America. So I believe I have the strongest pro-Israel position actually on the stage, even though it's a little bit different than the standard GOP talking points. And it is this. The founding vision of Israel, David Ben-Gurion, the George Washington figure of Israel, what did he believe? He believed that we don't want, as Israel, to depend on the fleeting sympathies of the West and have our hands tied. I think Israel has an absolute right to defend itself to the fullest, without the U.S., the UN, or the EU, or anybody else second-guessing their decisions, as the Biden administration, guess what, is now starting to do. I think that's a more deeply pro-Israel position than anybody else, and it keeps the actual lines of accountability clear because it is a pro-American position. And as leader of the United States of America, just as a father of 2 sons, my sole moral duty is to my family. As your next president, my sole moral duty is to you, the people of this country. That's how I'm going to lead. So I'll tell Bibi, you smoke the terrorists on your southern border, you go ahead and we're rooting for you. We're going to smoke the terrorists on our own southern border, and that's how I'm going to lead this country.
But Americans were killed in that attack. Americans were killed in that attack. And so if you looked at this terrorist attack and the number of Americans, this would be one of the top 10 terrorist attacks in American history. So our own people were killed in that attack. And I think it's absolutely appropriate to point that out and to say that we're in this together and we are going to work with Israel so that these people are brought to justice.
I agree with that.
Ambassador Haley, I'm coming to you. Iran is on the threshold of becoming a nuclear state. The Wall Street Journal reported that Iranian military leaders gave the green light for Hamas's attack on Israel. You said in last month's debate that, by contrast to the Biden administration's approach to Iran, you would, quote, punch them once and punch them hard. Were you saying that it's time to bomb Iran?
No, I was not saying it's time to bomb Iran, but I will tell you, I dealt with Iran every day when I was at the United Nations, and they only respond to strength. What they don't respond to is when you weaken the sanctions like they did on Iran that allowed China to send them billions to fill their proxies. What they don't respond to is when you give $6 billion for 5 hostages. That only makes them want more hostages. What they don't respond to is when they do 140 strikes on our men and women in Syria and Iraq, and we do nothing but just some small shots back. You've got to punch them, you've got to punch them hard, and let them know that. That's the only way they're going to respond. So the way you do that is you go after their infrastructure in Syria and Iraq, where they're hitting our soldiers. That's what you do, and then that's when they'll back off. The problem is you have to see that all of these are related. If you look at the fact Russia was losing that war with Ukraine. Putin had hit rock bottom. They had raised the draft age to 65. He was getting drones and missiles, drones from Iran, missiles from North Korea. And so what happened? When he hit rock bottom, all of a sudden, his other friend, Iran, Hamas goes and invades Israel and butchers those people on Putin's birthday. There is no one happier right now than Putin because all of the attention America had on Ukraine suddenly went to Israel. And that's what they were hoping is going to happen. We need to make sure that we have full clarity that there is a reason, again, that Taiwanese want to help Ukrainians because they know if Ukraine wins, China won't invade Taiwan. There's a reason the Ukrainians want to help Israelis because they know that if Iran wins, Russia wins. These are all connected. But what wins all of that is a strong America, not a weak America. And that's what Joe Biden's given us.
I want to say one thing about the tie to Ukraine, if I may. So foreign policy experience is not the same as foreign policy wisdom. I want everybody at home to note that I was the first person to say we need a reasonable peace deal in Ukraine. Now a lot of the neocons are quietly coming along to that position, with the exceptions of Nikki Haley and Joe Biden, who still support this, what I believe is pointless war in Ukraine. And I think those with foreign policy experience, one thing that Joe Biden and Nikki Haley have in common is that neither of them could even state for you 3 provinces in eastern Ukraine that they want to send our troops to actually fight for. Look at that. This is what I want people to understand. These people have, I mean, she has no idea what the hell the names of those provinces are, but she wants to send our sons and daughters and our troops and our military equipment to go fight it. So reject this myth that they've been selling you, that somebody had a cup of coffee stint at the UN and then makes $8 million after, has real foreign policy experience. It takes an outsider to see this through. Look at the blank expression. She doesn't know the names of the provinces that she wants to actually fight for.
Dang, she really stacked this audience, man. Wow.
The donors right there that are playing like the puppet.
He's right. He is right.
Let me just say something here. You know,
Vivek is right.
His reasonable peace deal in Ukraine, he made it clear. Give them all the land they've already stolen, promise Putin you'll never put Ukraine in Russia, and then trust Putin not to have a relationship with China. Let me tell you something. That's no reasonable.
That's not my deal. That's not my deal,
yes,
Chris.
It's exactly what you said.
You
do this at every debate.
I'll tell you exactly what it is.
Don't interrupt me. I didn't interrupt you. Okay? You say this. You do this. You do this at every debate. You go out on the stump and you say something. All of us see it on video. We confront you out on the debate stage. You say you didn't say it, and then you back away. And I want to say,
exactly what I said, Chris.
I'm not done yet.
Well, this is
look.
This is nonsense. This man is spewing nonsense.
Let me tell you something. This is the fourth debate that you would be voted in the first 20 minutes as the most obnoxious blowhard in America.
I'm going to respond to that.
Your version of we're going to let you respond to that. We're going to let you respond to that. Let him finish.
I want to say something else. We're now 25 minutes into this debate, and he has insulted Nikki Haley's basic intelligence, not her positions, her basic intelligence. She doesn't know regions. She wouldn't be able to find something on a map that his 3-year-old could find. Look, if you want to disagree on issues, that's fine. And Nikki and I disagree on some issues. But I'll tell you this, I've known her for 12 years, which is longer than he's even started to vote in the Republican primary.
Funny to watch.
And while we disagree about some issues and we disagree about who should be president of the United States, what we don't disagree on is this is a smart, accomplished woman, and you should stop insulting her.
So I'm going to take this, several times over. So first of all, I think we just learned something from Chris Christie. We learned 3 things. We learned 3 things right there. First of all, Chris Christie also doesn't know what provinces in eastern Ukraine he actually wants us to fight for. Chris, your version of foreign policy experience was closing a bridge from New Jersey to New York. Yeah. So do everybody a favor, just walk yourself off that stage, enjoy a nice meal, and get the hell out of this race. When it comes to Nikki, I think if you're going to actually send your sons and daughters to go die in somebody else's war, you better, excuse me, Chris, I'm speaking, and I'm not done yet.
I haven't heard a time when you aren't
and we're going to be done. So listen up to this, is if these people want to send your sons and daughters to go die in Ukraine, they've been arguing for it for a year. $200 billion of our taxpayer money sent over. Neither of them could even name for you the provinces that they actually want to protect. And this is the people who have been touting their so-called foreign policy experience. It is intellectual fraud. These people are lying to you, the same people who told you about weapons and mass destruction in Iraq. To justify that invasion, didn't know the first thing about it, yet they sent thousands of our sons and daughters to go die. The same people who told you the same in Afghanistan, where the Taliban is still in charge 20 years later. $7 trillion of our national debt due to these toxic neocons. You can put lipstick on a Dick Cheney, it is still a fascist neocon.
Thank
and
you,
you
Mr.
gotta see that
Ramaswamy.
today.
Thank you, Mr.
It's Dick Cheney
Ramaswamy.
all over again in this party.
Thank you, Mr. Ramaswamy. 15 seconds.
Name the provinces. Neither of you could even name the first thing about Eastern countries.
I think we've had enough of this.
And Crimea.
Think about that.
Let me just.
It's actually Crimea is the wrong answer.
All right. The floor is Christie's.
All right. Let me just say this. You know, this is the kind of thing where he talks about experience. You know, I was the U.S. attorney in New Jersey when the terrorist attacks were launched against the United States in 2001. I brought the first two cases in this country against terrorists who tried to attack us again. And I know about the threat of terrorism and bullying in this country and around the world. And at that time, he was learning about the provinces in Ukraine, sitting with his smart-ass mouth at Harvard. That's what was going on. And so the fact of the matter is, and back then he was a Democrat. So you know, the fact is that all he knows how to do.
Well, you're busy hugging Barack Obama.
Thank you.
All he knows how to do is insult good people who have committed their lives to public service and not say anything that moves the ball down the field for the United States.
All right, thank you, Governor Christie. We are going to take a quick break.
Thank God. All right. Thank God. I'll be back after this break. But oh my goodness, man, these people are freaking annoying. Oh man, we're being denied the debate we deserve again between coward chicken Donald Trump, who is too much of a coward to get on the stage. It's the only thing correct that Chris Christie said. But first, let's talk about some fact checking. Okay, Ron DeSantis never supported Jason Brodeur's crazy bill to make all the bloggers register, okay? This bill was introduced by a Republican rep named Jason Brodeur. It never even made it to the floor, I don't think. And it was targeted specifically at one blogger named Peter Scorch or something like Peter Scorch. I think he works at the Florida Politics, okay? This was like a personal thing, whatever. And honestly, I think he was trolling him with this bill. I don't think he ever thought it would make it through, but DeSantis never supported it. So that's a lie. And then I'll get back to the debate. I know I'm talking a little bit at this one. The Newsom debate was much more fun. This one, these guys are just annoying. Chris Christie's annoying, and then he's there defending Nikki Haley. The moderators are three women for some reason. I mean, let's get at least one dude on there, and they start out with the polls. Well, he's ahead in the polls. Well, why isn't Trump's fat ass on the stage? Okay, you know, I'm sick. The polls are wrong all the time, dude. And DeSantis called out. That's no reason to say you're not gonna. Why isn't they answering these questions? We have questions for Trump. He's there. Oh no, I'm not going to. It's really, I'm starting to despise that man a lot. When I used to like him. Okay, so a claim was made about that Haley didn't say something about sex change operations for minors. So we're gonna play where she actually did say that. Here it is. All right.
When I get into office, the first thing we have to do, social media accounts, social media companies, they have to show America their algorithms. Let us see why they're pushing what they're pushing. The second thing is every person on social media should be verified by their name. That's, first of all, it's a national security threat. When you do that, all of a sudden people have to stand by what they say, and it gets rid of the Russian bots, the Iranian bots, and the Chinese bots. And then you're going to get some civility when people know their name is next to what they say. Accountability. And they know their pastor and their family members going to see it. It's going to help our kids, and it's going to help our country.
Guys, I just want to let you know, when people like this say civility, they mean censorship, okay? Civility is just another word for censorship, okay? Oh, we need people to be civil to each other. You don't know what you mean is you don't want people to criticize criticize you. That's what you're talking about. And then with this civility nonsense, that's not the clip that I was talking. This is the DeSantis war room. Put it up before we get that. War room. Okay. Here it is. Here is what she actually said. Here we go.
And is what care should be on the table when a 12-year-old child in this country, assigned female at birth, says, actually, I feel more comfortable living as a boy. What should the law allow?
Assigned female at birth? What is wrong with these people? Do they eat paint chips when they were a kid or something? Assigned female at birth? What the hell does that mean? When did people start talking like idiots? When did people start talking like weirdos? When assigned female at birth? Please, people, let's stop being stupid. All right, so here's what she said.
The response to be.
Well, I think the law should stay out of it, and I think parents should handle it.
Madam Ambassador, another question is what care should.
There she is. I think the law should stay out of it. So that's what she said. Okay, so she lied. She lied twice at the debate about things she actually said. It's clear the audience is stacked with Haley people too. That's obvious. So, but yeah, I mean, there you go. And with social media, you can fact check right during the debate. So, and then you got Christie and you got Vivek yelling at each other, and the two of them, what are they even doing up there? Neither of them is going to be president. They're both obnoxious. I guess Christie's trying to suck up to Haley now, and Vivek was teaming up with DeSantis a little bit there, which I thought was not what I expected out of it. But let's just cut the crap, you know. I mean, Christie's right about one thing. This is between DeSantis and Trump, and we got this little clown show going on here. But DeSantis is clearly the presidential one, always is. There you go. You've got him. Are you smart enough to make him the nominee? All right, let's get back to it.
Live on News Nation from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. We are now going to go to the crisis on the southern border. Polls show immigration and the crisis are among the most pressing issues for Republican voters right now. Both the issue of migrants crossing illegally into our country and the separate issue of fentanyl being smuggled in mostly through legal ports of entry. All year, News Nation has been at the border documenting the crisis. In 2023 alone, Border Patrol encountered a record 2.4 million migrants. All four of you have talked tough. The question now is, how realistic is the talk? So, Governor DeSantis, I'd like to start with you. You have pledged to send the military to the southern border on day one of your administration with orders to shoot, quote, stone cold dead anyone illegally entering with a backpack that you believe contains fentanyl. Critics have called this a shoot first, ask questions later policy that would amount to extrajudicial killing. You are a former military lawyer. Why do you think this idea of yours would be legal?
The drug cartels are invading our country, and they are killing our citizens by the tens of thousands every year. We had a situation in Florida. There was an 18-month-old baby that was crawling on the floor of an Airbnb rental. There was fentanyl residue on the carpet, and the baby died. Is this acceptable in this country? I know the elites in D.C., they don't care. They don't care that fentanyl is ravaging your community. They don't care that illegal aliens are ravaging our community and overwhelming our community. The commander-in-chief not only has a right, you have a responsibility to fight back against these people.
And does that mean shooting first?
It means you're gonna categorize them as foreign terrorist organizations, and we will identify, just like we would anywhere. When I was in Iraq, the Al-Qaeda wasn't wearing a uniform. You'd see anyone walking down the street, they all had man dresses on. You didn't know if someone had a bomb, an IED attached or not. And so you had to make a judgment based on intelligence, based on positive identification. But we're going to be able to get the intelligence on these cartel people. And here's the thing. If we had a wall across the southern border, which I support, this would not have happened. We need to build a wall across the southern border. I'll get it done, and Mexico is supposed to pay for it. Remember, here's how you do that. I am going to have fees on remittances from foreign workers when they send the money back to foreign countries. We're going to tax it, and we're going to build the wall with that. So yes, you should have had that, but we don't have it. I'm going to build it, but we have to lean in on this problem. I am not going to sit there and allow mothers to lose more kids because of fentanyl overdose. I am not going to sit there and let sex trafficking go unabated or human trafficking go unabated. There's going to be a new sheriff in town, and these drug cartels better buckle up.
Thank you. Ambassador Haley, you have pledged to catch and deport all migrants who are here in this country illegally, but then you said in Londonderry, New Hampshire last month that you will not deport those who are working and paying taxes rather than feeding off the system. Which is it?
So first of all, what I said is all of the 7 or 8 million illegals that have come under Biden's watch absolutely have to go back. We have to stop the incentive of what's bringing them over here in the first place. Biden just gave temporary protective status to 500,000 Venezuelans. That's 500,000 Social Security cards. That's 500,000 driver's licenses. And I know from my time at the United Nations, the first thing they do is pick up the phone and said, we came over, come on over. And that's what sends more. You have to go and deport these people so they know it can't happen again. For those that have been here longer than that, we've got to start seeing who is it, how long have they been here, have they been vetted, have they paid taxes, have they been working, and figure out who else is out there. But what I know is my parents came here legally. They put in the time, they put in the price. They are offended by those that are coming illegally. We can't let them skip the line. But when you talk about fentanyl like you did before, let's look at something else. Yes, I think we should send special operations over and take out the cartels. I think we should do a remain in Mexico policy so they never step foot in U.S. soil in the first place. But look at where fentanyl came from. Let's go to the heart of the matter. It came from China. That's why we need to end all normal trade relations with China until they stop murdering Americans with fentanyl. I promise you, they need our economy. They will immediately stop that. But this is where Trump went wrong. Trump was good on trade, but that's all he was with China. Because here he allowed fentanyl to continue to come over. He continued to allow them to he would give them technology that would build up their military and hurt us. He allowed the Chinese infiltration for them to buy up farmland, to put money in our universities, and to continue to do things that were harmful for America. We now have a spy base in Cuba and police stations, and Trump didn't do anything about it.
Thank you. China, though, I mean, listen, this is rich, because when she was governor of South Carolina, she was the #1 ranked governor of bringing the CCP into her state. She wrote a love letter to the Chinese ambassador saying how great a friend China is. You can look at it. We put it on our website, rondesantis.com. There's also a video of her as governor standing in front of a Chinese flag with a Chinese business saying that she now works for them, talking about this Chinese company. What? So she's been very weak on China. Now, here's the problem. The rhetoric is different, but her donors, these Wall Street liberal donors, they make money in China. They are not going to let her be tough on China, and she will cave to the donors. She will not stand up for you.
15 seconds, Ambassador.
Yeah. Oh, good.
First of all, he's mad because those Wall Street donors used to support him, and now they support me. The second thing is he has a company, a Chinese company, UGAS, that he just did a rally there last year. They have given you $340,000 in campaign donations between them and their employees. They are tied to the Communist Chinese Party. Jinko Solar is another one. They went and expanded. You gave $2 million in subsidies.
I banned China from buying land in the state of Florida.
The Department of Homeland.
I ejected the Confucius Institute. Nikki Haley brought Confucius Institutes to the universities in South Carolina.
That is not true.
I ejected them. So I have a record of standing up and do what's right. And here's the thing.
You have a record of lying.
She's trying to say things like that. Even the liberal media groups that usually if I say the sky is blue, they'll fact check me and say that's wrong. They looked at her charges. They said it was totally false, that they could not find one instance of me recruiting a Chinese business coming to Florida. You know why? Because we never recruited any Chinese businesses to the state of Florida.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Ramaswamy, over the past year, fentanyl has killed more than 75,000 Americans, 1,000 of them right here in Alabama. You have vowed to use the military to, quote, annihilate drug labs inside Mexico, something the president of Mexico said would be a hostile act. But fentanyl can easily be made anywhere, and labs that are shut down can easily and quickly be replaced. Are your tough enforcement policies offering false hope to a country racked by addiction?
To the contrary, I don't think it's going to have to come to that if we deal with the actual demand side problem that we also have in this country. I mean, the easy part is talking about how we're going to use our military to secure the border. I will, and I believe that everybody else wants to do the same thing. But the harder part is dealing with the crisis of purpose and meaning, the mental health epidemic raging across this country like wildfire. And there's a reason why after the opioid crisis, you see fentanyl. And even after we get fentanyl, and we are going to be sure to make sure we do it, this one is worse for many reasons. They're illegally lacing it into pharmaceuticals, so it's more dangerous. But we're deluding ourselves. The real false promise here is thinking that we're going to have dealt with that underlying mental health epidemic in this country by just dealing with the demand side of it. But I want to get back to this issue of the root cause, because a lot of these are coming from labs in Wuhan, China, of all places. Drug materials that are going to the Mexican drug cartels that they're pumping across that southern border like a modern opium war. I think it is going to take a U.S. president that's going to have a very different conversation with Xi Jinping than what Joe Biden just had in California. I will tell Xi Jinping, you will not only not buy land in this country or donate to universities in this country, U.S. businesses won't expand into the Chinese market until they're playing by the same set of rules. And the same country that's putting fentanyl into illegal pharmaceuticals in Mexico, it's no coincidence, is the exact same country that also unleashed hell on the world with the COVID-19 pandemic. We also have to hold them accountable with every financial lever that we have available. That is what it actually means to stand with a spine. And you mark my words, if we're willing to stand with the spine, China will absolutely have to fold because they're in a tougher spot than we are. And then we're back to playing by the same set of rules.
Thank you, Mr.
That's the
Ramaswamy.
answer.
Thank you. Let's talk about the economy. Ambassador Haley, homeownership has always been part of the American dream, but it's increasingly out of reach for younger Americans. This year, mortgage rates reached 30-year highs. Home prices have risen $190,000 over the past decade. Is this the free market at work? Or should the federal government do something to make homes more affordable?
Well, first of all, I mean, you're exactly right. My daughter just got married, and I saw how hard it was for her and her husband to buy a home. Right now, the average homeowner in America is 49 years old. You've got young people everywhere. That used to be the American dream, and now it's out of reach. But you look at what happened. You first of all look at what the Fed did. The Fed did a terrible job when they allowed all of that money to go through. You saw the Treasury bond rates go up. That affected mortgage rates, that affected automobile rates, that affected insurance rates. And so now we have a high interest rate. You've got a supply issue. Ask any builder. The supply issues have continued to be there. That's caused the rate to go up. And then you've got insurances that have gone up. And so what you have is a lot of younger people who, one, can't afford a home, but two, the banks aren't lending them any money. They've made the regulations so hard that they don't want to give loans on mortgages anymore. So what we have to do is we have to open it up. We have to, one, grow our economy so that people have more money in their pockets. We've got to look at the supply chain and make sure that we are funneling that so that builders don't have to sit there and go overseas to find things. And then we need to make sure that we really stop paying down this debt, make sure that we stop the borrowing, stop the spending. I'll veto any spending bill that doesn't take us back to pre-COVID levels, because our kids are not going to forgive us for all the spending that happened. And as much as everybody wants to talk about how Donald Trump had a good economy, $9 trillion in debt he did just in 4 years. And we're all paying the price of that, including those mortgage prices.
We're going to come back to President Trump, I promise. Governor DeSantis, the latest News Nation Decision Desk poll found that inflation tops the worries of American voters. 61% say they're very concerned, and the working class is hardest hit. Economists say this was fueled by a glut of federal spending. The Biden administration has added $6 trillion to the national debt so far, but President Trump wasn't exactly a penny pincher. His administration added $7.8 trillion.
No, he wasn't.
Do Republicans, including President Trump, share the blame for inflation? And what concrete steps would a President DeSantis take to help Americans make ends meet?
The borrowing, printing, and spending of money was both parties in Washington, D.C. That's just a fact. These Republicans in Washington have spent. It's driven your prices higher, and it's driven your interest rates to the point where you can't afford. I met a young fella in Iowa. He had graduated college a couple years ago, and he's like, Governor, I don't have a chance. I'm gainfully employed. He's like, I have no chance to afford a home and start a family. That is taking the American dream away from people. So we're going to get the inflation down. We're going to get the interest rates down. We are going to reduce spending, and I will be willing to veto, and I vetoed a lot as governor of Florida, and we'll do that. We're also going to open up all of our domestic energy for production. Lower your gas prices, lower the price of fuel. That's going to help the economy. It also help jobs, and we'll do it. But, you know, another thing that's burdening young people are these student loans. Now, I don't support having a truck driver having to pay a student loan for someone that got a degree in gender studies. That is wrong. We should not have taxpayers do that. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to get to the root cause of the problem. These student loans are going to be backed by the universities because they need to have an incentive to produce gainful employment for people. They should not be indulging in ideological studies. They should be focusing on things that work. And we're going to take some of this money and we're going to move it to actual vocational training. In Florida, we doubled apprenticeships. We have more truck drivers. These are in-demand skills. Don't let anybody tell you that the only way you can be successful is through a 4-year brick and ivy degree. That's one way you can be. It's not the only way, and we're going to fix that problem in the United States of America.
Hey, yeah, oh yeah, there's your guy. There's your guy. There he is, America.
Cryptocurrency like Bitcoin as an opt-out from our, quote, broken financial architecture, and you oppose efforts to regulate it. The head of the largest international crypto exchange just pleaded guilty to allowing his platform to launder money for terrorists, including Hamas. You say your cryptocurrency plan will, quote, ensure economic freedom for Americans, end quote. Won't it also ensure economic freedom for fraudsters, criminals, and terrorists?
Look, fraudsters, criminals, and terrorists have been defrauding people for a long time. Our regulations need to catch up with the current moment. The fact that SBF was able to do what he did at FTX shows that whatever they have as the current framework isn't working. And I think it is nothing short of embarrassing that Gary Gensler, the current leader of the SEC, in front of Congress, could not even say whether Ethereum counted as a regulated security or not. And so I think that this is just another example of the administrative state gone too far. Here's the dirty little secret in American politics today. The people who we elect to run the government are not the ones who are even actually running the government. It is the bureaucrats in those 3-letter agencies that are writing regulations that Congress never gave them the authority to write. And the good news is a U.S. president can absolutely fix that. That takes a U.S. president with a spine. So what I've said is in my administration, by the end of year 1, we will have a 75% reduction in the number of federal bureaucrats. We will shut down government agencies that should not exist. We will rescind any regulation that fails the test of West Virginia versus EPA, which is the most important Supreme Court case of our lifetime, that said if Congress didn't delegate that to an administrative agency, then it's unconstitutional. These are seismic changes. These are big changes that the next president can deliver without asking Congress for permission or for forgiveness. And I want people to understand that distinction, because people have been sold myths by politicians for a long time saying, I'm going to work with Congress to do this or that. Much of what you've heard on the stage from the other politicians fit that description. They need Congress. The things that I'm promising you, this is what the leader of the executive branch gets to do under Article 2 of the Constitution.
Thank you, sir.
Cut down the bureaucracy. That's how we grow our economy.
All right, all right.
Federal Reserve in its place.
Wrap it up.
Wrap
it up.
90% headcount.
Wrap it up there, buddy. All right, we've had enough of you.
So one of the dangers that we're going to face, Biden wants, is a central bank digital currency. They want to get rid of cash, crypto. They want to force you to do that. They'll take away your privacy. They will absolutely regulate your purchases. On day 1 as president, we take the idea of central bank digital currency and we throw it in the trash can. It'll be dead on arrival.
I agree with that. Gotta get a break. Gotta get a break. I have a whole second hour to get to. It's exciting. And when we come back, we got a big subject. Huge, you might even say. Donald Trump.
Where is he? Oh, let's talk about Donald Trump. Where's the question about COVID? That's a good one. Yeah, you're not going to get any. You're not going to get any. You know, Trump treated Megyn Kelly like crap, and now she's like
News Nation.
She's like that girlfriend that keeps going back to. Oh yeah, we got RFK Jr. here. Yeah, he's in this race too. So whoever the Republican nominee is, will have to beat both Biden, probably Newsom, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Okay, but these, you know, Megyn Kelly, Trump humiliated her in front of everybody, and now she's got this like thing where she's like that girl that whose boyfriend treats her like crap, and she just keeps going back to him. Oh, he loves me, but a lot of these people, they know they're conned into believing that if they dare go against Trump, that they're going to lose their audiences, and it's going to be horrible. So that's where these people stand. And no, you're not going to get any questions about COVID from these people. That's why it was so good having that Newsom debate, which was really the presidential debate. And then you had the Bob Vanderplaats thing where he asked about it. You're not going to get that from any of these people. So let's go on over here. Haley is done after this. I mean, Haley is, she's pretty much done. She's lied here. DeSantis has called her out. He's done a very good job. Oh yeah. And DeSantis, okay, check it out. That company she brought up, Jinko Solar, was brought into Florida by Rick Scott when he was governor, just like the red flag laws in Florida done by Rick Scott. Who is endorsed Rick Scott? And who just endorsed Donald Trump? Trump and Scott endorsed each other. Scott's the one that brought that company Jinko Solar in. Now, is this the same Jinko that made the giant jeans that I used to wear when I was in 6th grade? Is that the same Jinko? No, this one has an I in it. Okay, I thought it was the jean company. Remember those giant jeans? But Jinko Solar was brought in by Scott. So that's a third lie from Haley. DeSantis, look what he did, okay? He kicked the Confucius Institutes out of these colleges, okay? That was a big deal, man. They were not having... There were three schools in Broward here that got shut down or had their funding cut because of Chinese Communist Party influence. And if you look at them on their websites, you don't even tell that they have that you wouldn't, they just sound very benign and everything, but they got their funding pulled. So DeSantis ain't playing around. He pulled BlackRock. He pulled us out of BlackRock, the pension fund in Florida. So you know this is why donors, if they're pissed off at it, this is why is the establishment is not with DeSantis. Okay. He's not one of them. Everybody is against DeSantis. All these guys, and I'm not complaining, but I'm just saying, you hear people talk about, oh, I want to be for the guy that all these bad guys are against. That's Ron DeSantis, you know? And I see like people like Andy Pollack putting up this tweet. He's like, oh, gee, like all these corporate interests, we're going to be lost without Trump. I mean, guy, I mean, you know him personally, Andy. I mean, Ron DeSantis is the guy. Yeah, I mean, Trump's almost 80 and he's got legal problems. They brought this up. And at this point, I really don't care what happens to him. I don't care what happens to Trump. You're like, oh, it's unfair. Da, da, da. He's going to have trial after trial coming up on Super Tuesday. He's got the federal trial. He's got now all these fake electors that he tried to put out or getting busted. This thing in Colorado, they're taking him off the ballot and stuff. And look, whether it's fair or not, this is just the reality of it. So that's what we're going to have if he's an, and where the hell is he? He needs to answer these freaking questions. But he hides like a coward, okay? But here's just where we are. But Haley is finished. I think, oh yeah, she called it the Don't Say Gay bill, okay? That is lib talk, okay? Nobody calls it that but libs, okay? It was the parental rights and education law gives people the right to challenge certain books and curriculum in school. And it's not, but Haley called it Don't Say Gay. She's a lib. It's very clear. All right, let's go back.
Most of you on the front runner in this race, Donald Trump.
Says who?
We invited him to come tonight, as you know, but he declined to come.
Because he's
we'd like to ask you a couple questions about him now. Ambassador Haley, former President Trump recently promised, if he's reelected, to bring back and expand his program restricting immigration from Muslim countries. Here he is in Iowa on October 16th.
No longer will we allow dangerous lunatics, haters, bigots, and maniacs to get residency in our country. We're not going to let them stay here. If you empathize with radical Islamic terrorists and extremists, you're disqualified. You're just disqualified.
Read from the teleprompter.
Ambassador Haley, do you support President Trump's plan for ideological screening?
Well, I don't think that you have a straight-up Muslim ban as much as you look at the countries that have terrorist activity that want to hurt Americans. You can ban those people from those countries. That's the way we should look at it, is which countries are a threat to us. You look at what came across the southern border. What worries me the most are those that came from Iran, from Yemen, from Lebanon, those areas where they say death to America. That's where you want to be careful. It's not about a religion. It's about a fact that certain countries are dangerous and are threats to us. A president has one job, and that's to keep Americans safe. And that's what we've got to do, is make sure that we have good national security in that process. And that's the way you should look at it, is where the terrorist threats are, how we're going to deal with it, and what we're doing about it. And the biggest threat we have right now is communist China. But you have to also look at what Iran and Russia are doing as well. And we need to be paying attention to that. That's why we have to focus on things like cyber, on space, on artificial intelligence, and not just the regular things that we've always focused on.
It's not just terrorism, though. That's important. But look what's happened in Europe. You have more anti-Semitism in Germany than at any time since Adolf Hitler. Why? Because they imported mass numbers of people who reject their culture. Europe is committing suicide with the mass migration, and it's illegal and legal. Nikki Haley said the other day there should be no limits on legal immigration, and that corporate CEOs should set the policy on that. There needs to be limits on immigration, and we should not be importing people from cultures that are hostile. So, for example, I said with the Gaza, you had some of the squad wanted to import 300,000 people from the Gaza Strip. I said, no, we're not taking anyone from Gaza because of the anti-Semitism and because they reject American culture. So we've got to get smart about this. We cannot let the United States be like Europe.
So there's an overhanging fruit here, if I may just hit this point, because it relates to what they just said. There are things that the government can do right now that nobody's talking about amongst the professional politicians in this race. What about all of the illegals who are already here? Here's the answer. There's 287G in the law. That is a provision that already allows ICE agents to deputize or allow local law enforcement to enforce those ICE warrants. And it shocks me that nobody in the Republican Party is talking about it, because there are 1 million then officials, law enforcement officials in this country. And against that backdrop, we absolutely have the ability to deport anybody who's in this country illegally.
Thank you, Mr.
We need to be talking about it more in this country.
Thank you. Governor Christie.
I actually did that as governor of South Carolina.
Governor Christie asked last night in Iowa whether he would be a dictator if he wins a second term in office. Donald Trump quipped, no, quote, except for day one, promising to seal the southern border. He has also pledged to begin the largest deportation operation in American history, saying that migrants are, quote, poisoning the blood of our country. He has pledged to round up and expel an estimated 11 million undocumented immigrants in the United States. What do you make of that plan?
I think it's completely predictable. I mean, look, he's made it very clear. There's no mystery to what he wants to do. He started off his campaign by saying, I am your retribution. 8 years ago, he said, I am your voice. This is an angry, bitter man who now wants to be back as president because he wants to exact retribution on anyone who has disagreed with him, anyone who has tried to hold him to account for his own conduct. And every one of these policies that he's talking about are about pursuing a plan of retribution. And yet, at the first debate, my three colleagues on this stage, when asked if he would be convicted of federal felonies, would they still support him, raise their hand, looked into the camera, and let everybody know that they would still support him even if convicted of federal felonies. Federal felonies, by the way. Federal felonies which involve our election process, federal felonies which involve the most sensitive of our governmental secrets, federal felonies where he instructed others to commit crimes, folks who are now agreeing to go to jail because of what they did in his name. So do I think he was kidding when he said he was a dictator? All you have to do is look at the history. And that's why failing to speak out against him, making excuses for him, pretending that somehow he's a victim, empowers him. You want to know why those poll numbers are where they are? Because folks like these three guys on the stage make it seem like his conduct is acceptable. Let me make it clear. His conduct is unacceptable. He's unfit, and be careful of what you're going to get. if you ever got another Donald Trump term, he's letting you know, I am your retribution. He will only be, Elizabeth, he will only be his own retribution. He doesn't care for the American people. It's Donald Trump first.
Thank you, Governor
He's
Christie.
absolutely right. He is right. He's absolutely right.
Thank you. Governor DeSantis, Donald Trump would be older on day one of his second presidency than Joe Biden was on day one of his first. You have said Trump is not the same man he was when he ran in 2016. Your campaign is running ads showing Trump confused. And you have said he has, quote, lost the zip on his fastball. You seem to be saying Donald Trump is no longer mentally fit to be president. Is that what you think?
Look, he is showing, Father Time is undefeated. The idea that we're going to put someone up there that's almost 80 and there's going to be no effects from that, we all know that that's not true. And so we have an opportunity to do a next generation of leaders and really be able to move this country forward. We also need a president that can serve 2 terms. I don't think Donald Trump, I think he's going to have, I don't think he'd be able to get elected. The Democrats want him to be the nominee. We see that. They are going to turn the screws the minute, if he got the nomination,
but do you think he's
you're going to see it.
Fit to be president?
I think we need to have somebody younger. I think when you get up to 80, I don't think it's a job for that. But let me just respond to some of the things there. Look, the media is making a big deal about what he said about some of these comments. I would just remind people that is not how he governed. He didn't even fire Dr. Fauci. He didn't fire Christopher Wray. He didn't clean up the swamp. He said he was going to drain it. He did not drain it. He said he was going to build the wall and have Mexico pay for it. We don't have the wall. He did say in 2016 he'd have the largest deportation program in history. He deported less than Barack Obama did when Barack Obama was president. So some of these policies he ran on in 16, I was cheering him on then, but he didn't deliver it. Here's what I can promise people. 100% of the things I promised as governor, I delivered on those promises.
He did.
I beat the left time and time again.
He has.
And that's what I'll do for you as president. We got to start winning again as a party. Yes, win the election, but we've got to start getting these issues. I will go in and wreak havoc on this bureaucracy. You will see people fired, and we are going to bring a reckoning for how this government handled COVID-19.
There we go. That's what we want.
On Donald Trump, you've been doing it all this whole race.
Shut up, Vivek.
The question was very direct. Is he fit to be president or isn't he? The rest of the speech is interesting, but completely non-responsive. And if we were in a courtroom, they'd strike the answer and say, Governor DeSantis.
No, they wouldn't. They would say that
you're a smart man. No, they would.
No, they wouldn't.
They would strike the answer because you're not answering it.
Is he fit? You have your thing.
Is he fit or isn't he? No, I don't have my thing.
We don't.
He's the thing. Is he fit or isn't he? You're talking about him being 80 years old.
It doesn't mean that somebody couldn't get elected. That's up to the people.
Governor DeSantis, let
him finish.
Governor DeSantis, let him finish.
Ron, is he fit?
I think we have an opportunity to do somebody who is in the prime of their life.
Yes.
We don't have to worry about all this stuff with confidence. We can get it done, and we'll do it.
I'm going to come to you. Finish.
Look,
there you
Father
go.
Time is undefeated. I don't know how he would score on a test, but I know this. We have an opportunity to nominate someone and elect someone for 2 terms who's going to be spitting nails on day one and for 8 years deliver you the result. We should not nominate somebody who's almost 80 years old.
Okay. He's afraid to answer.
No, I'm not.
You have to either you're afraid or you're not listening.
No, it's not.
There's a simple question.
Is he fit?
Nobody can hear this. No one can hear you. They can't hear you. You finish and then you get it back.
All right.
Look, I'm a simple guy. Okay, I hear the question and I answer it. Is he fit or isn't he? I'll concede you're fit, Ron. You're a new generation. You're 44 years old. I wish I was still 44 years old. Okay?
45.
So, well, congratulations. I'd still take 45. Is he fit or isn't he? And this is the problem with my 3 colleagues. They're afraid to offend. And let me tell you something. If you're afraid to offend Donald Trump, then what are you going to do when you sit across from President Xi, you sit across from the Ayatollah, you sit across from Putin? You have to be willing to offend with the truth and answer the question. Fit or unfit?
Okay, listen.
Fit or unfit?
I promised Ron DeSantis a minute and not a full minute.
It is not about offending.
You can weigh in and then we're moving on.
It's about pointing out, do you want to elect somebody who will be older than Biden was when he went in 2021? I don't think he's as bad as Biden was at all. But I do think that over a 4-year period, it is not a job for somebody that's pushing 80. We need somebody that's younger. We need somebody that's going to be able to go in there and clean house on day one and do it for 2 terms. And I'll be able to
Here's
do
my
that.
issue with all 3 of my other colleagues on this debate.
We don't need these pipsqueaks,
Is all 3 of
we
them
don't care.
have been licking Donald Trump's boots for years for money and endorsements.
What? Wait a minute,
Ron
you're
DeSantis,
going to
you've been a
say
great
that?
governor, but you would have never been one without actually begging Donald Trump for that endorsement.
And you attacked him in your book a year ago.
Same thing with Chris Christie as a lobbyist,
right?
begging them for COVID money for his special interests in New Jersey, prepping him for the debates last time around. These people are now Monday morning quarterbacking some decision he made. I think the real enemy is not
talking about
Donald
his
Trump.
record, dude.
It's not even Joe Biden.
We're
It
just
is
talking
the
about
deep
his
state
record.
that at least Donald Trump attempted to take on. And if you want somebody who's going to speak truth to power, then vote for somebody who's going to speak the truth to you. Why am I the only person on the stage, at least, who can say that January 6th now does look like it was an inside job? That the government lied to us for 20 years about Saudi Arabia's involvement in 9/11. That the Great Replacement theory is not some grand right-wing
here we go with the
theory,
QAnon
but a
nonsense.
basic statement
Here we
of
go.
the Democratic Party's platform.
He's sucking up the
that
Tim Pool here.
The 2020 election was indeed stolen by big tech.
Oh,
that the
shut
2016
up.
election, the one that Trump won for sure,
Oh,
was also
shut
one that was stolen from
up,
him by the
dude.
national security establishment that actually put up the
Who's
Trump-Russia collusion
licking
hoax that
Trump's
he was false.
butt, dude?
There's a
You
reason
are
why I'm
right
the only
now.
person on the stage who can say these
That'll
things.
do it.
That's what it's going to take. Not people who were licking his boots one time and now Monday morning quarterback.
And then he turns around and licks Trump's butt for 1 minute. I mean, what is that? He wants Tim Pool and Benny Johnson retweets.
Trans medical treatments for minors, saying it's a parental rights issue. The surgeries done on minors involve cutting off body parts at a time when these kids cannot even legally smoke a cigarette. Kids who go from puberty blockers to cross-sex hormones are at a much greater likelihood of winding up sterile. How is it that you think a parent should be able to okay these surgeries, never mind the sterilization of a child? And aren't you way too out of step on this issue to be the Republican nominee?
No, I'm not. Because Republicans believe in less government, not more. In less involvement with government, not more involvement in people's lives. And you know what, Megan? I trust parents. And we're out there saying that we should empower parents in education. We should empower parents to make more decisions about where their kids go to school. I agree. We should empower parents to be teaching the values that they believe in their homes without the government telling them what those values should be.
No, you can't
And yet,
do whatever
we
you
want to take other
dude.
parental rights away. I'm sorry. As a father of 4, I believe there is no one who loves my children more than me. There's no one who loves my children more than my wife. There's no one who cares more about their success and health in life than we do. Not some government bureaucrat, not some. You look at these jokers down in Congress. It takes them 3 weeks to pick a speaker, and up until 2 days ago, they couldn't promote somebody in the military in the United States Senate who earned their new rank. And we're going to put my children's health and my decisions in their hands for them to make those decisions, for Joe Biden to make those decisions, for me and for my wife. Let me just say this. This is not something I favor. I think it's a very, very dangerous thing to do. But that's my opinion as a parent, Megan. And I get to make the decisions about my children, not anybody else. And every parent out there who's watching tonight, you start to turn over just a little bit of this authority, the authority they're going to take from you next, you're not going to like. I'll stand up for parents each and every time.
So there are laws banning smoking or drinking by a certain age.
Let me tell you something. I have a follow-up question for him, and you guys are going to get to weigh in, okay? Here's my follow-up question. You talk about parental rights. Let's talk about them. When you were governor in 2017, you signed a law that required new guidelines for schools dealing with transgender students. Those guidelines required schools to accept a child's preferred gender identity, even if the minor's parents objected.
Not true.
And it said that there is no duty for schools to notify parents if their son or daughter changes their gender identity, allowing this serious issue to remain a secret between the school and a child. How is any of that pro-parental rights?
By the way, that's simply not true.
You're doing what you accuse me of, Chris. It is absolutely true.
That's simply not true. That's simply not true. That law was put into effect in 2018 and regulated in 2018 after I was out of office, Megyn. No, we did not, Megyn. We did not issue those guidelines, and you're wrong about that. Simply wrong. I have stood up each and every time.
So I think if this is one issue that's disqualifying, it's this one.
I stood up every single time for parents to be able to make the decisions for their minor children.
But parents...
Every single time, parents should make those decisions. And by the way, you know what? Every once in a while, parents are going to make decisions that we disagree with. But the minute you start to take those rights away from parents, you don't know that slippery slope, what rights are going to be taken away next, and what's going to be focused on you.
As a parent, you do not have the right to abuse your kids. This is cutting off.
Oh, that's it.
This is mutilating these
That's
minors.
it.
These are irreversible procedures, and this is something that other countries in Europe, like Sweden, once they started doing it, they saw it did incalculable damage. They've shut it down. I signed legislation in Florida banning the mutilation of minors because it is wrong. We cannot allow this to happen in this country. And I know Chris disagrees with me, and I think he has an honest position. Nikki disagrees with me. She opposes the bill that we did to ban that. She said the law shouldn't get involved with it. You said the law shouldn't get involved with it. She also, though, I think, and this flows from what she did as governor of South Carolina, they had a bill to try to say that men shouldn't go into girls' bathrooms. And she killed that bill, and she bragged that she killed that bill. Even to this day, she bragged that. I don't think men should be going into little girls' bathrooms. I think it's wrong, and I think we have every right to protect them.
Is that hard to say? Trump doesn't think so.
I am going to come to you. I promise to have seconds. Go quickly.
I think the North Star here is transgenderism is a mental health disorder. We don't let you smoke a cigarette by the age of 18. We don't let you have an addictive drink of alcohol by the age of 21. And I just challenge Ron DeSantis to go one step further and support what I think is clearly within the authority to do, using federal funds just like Reagan did in '84 for the Highway Act that said the minimum drinking age needs to be 21. We can do the same thing when it comes to banning genital mutilation or chemical castration.
Okay.
I know Ron's been unclear about that on the federal
Haley.
level. I'm crystal clear. That's where I stand.
Got it.
That's a mental health disorder. That's where we need to be at.
Go ahead.
So first of all, Ron has continued to lie because he's losing.
No, it's not a lie.
You are lying.
You said it on tape.
So first of all, I will say that when I was governor, 10 years ago, when the bathroom situation came up, we had maybe a handful of kids that were dealing with an issue. And I said, we don't need to bring government into this, but boys go into boys' bathrooms, girls go into girls' bathrooms, and if anyone else has an issue, they use a private bathroom. Now, 10 years later, we see that this issue has exploded. And this shows how hypocritical Ron continues to be. When he was running for governor and they asked him about that, he said he didn't think bathroom bills were a good use of his time. You can go look that up.
I signed a bathroom bill in Florida, so that's obviously not true.
Yeah, right?
So the idea that you would say that I was against that.
You didn't. You killed it. I signed it. I stood up for little girls. You didn't do it. And there was this going on. I was actually just in South Carolina. Some of the legislators told me at the time there were boys going into the girls. That's the whole reason why they did it.
No.
And so they say when she does that explanation that doesn't hold water. And this is the upstate of South Carolina.
Ron,
I signed the bill. I protected the girls.
do you know South Carolinians?
She did not do it.
Do you know
I know
South Carolinians? Because South Carolinians, no. You are not going to talk about my state like that, because I will tell you for a fact, South Carolinians never allowed that to happen, and we did not have that issue at the time. What I have always said is boys go into a boys' bathroom, girls go into a girls' bathroom. But hold on one second. I also say that biological boys shouldn't be playing in girls' sports, and I will do everything I can to stop that, because it's the women's issue of our time.
I signed legislation to protect women's sports. I actually get this stuff done.
She talks like she's got like cotton in her mouth or something.
Mr. Ramaswamy, when discussing your Hindu faith in September, you seemed to take a shot at Ambassador Haley, who is also Indian American and who converted to Christianity as an adult.
Wait, Indian and Hindu are not the same thing.
You said, an easy thing for me to do, being a politician, is to shorten my name, profess to be a Christian, and then run. Make Vivek Vicky or whatever, end quote. Are you questioning Nikki Haley's Christian convictions? And why has your campaign made a point of referring to Ambassador Haley by her given first name, Nimrata, even though she's gone by Nikki for her whole life?
Well, my whole deal is if Nikki Haley, of all people, should know how to pronounce my name correctly, the rest of the news media can learn it. My deal is I'll call her Nikki when she can say my own name right. That's our little fun side bet there. Here's what I will say is deeper. I don't question her faith, but I question her authenticity. And I think that's deeper here. We were just talking about the trans issue. This is a symptom of a deeper cancer in American life, identity politics. This new religion that says your race, your gender, and your sexuality are your identity. It is anti-American. It is meritocratic, it's anti-meritocratic, and it is dividing this country to a breaking point. And I've spoken about this to the left. My books are all about this. I've preached this to the left, but it's even worse when Republicans try to play the same game. We're talking about that trans issue. And Nikki Haley's campaign launch video sounded like a woke Dylan Mulvaney Bud Light ad talking about how she would kick in heels. At the first debate, she said that only a woman can get this job done. That's what she said. After the third debate, when I criticized Ronna McDaniel after 5 failed years of leadership of this party and criticized Nikki for her corrupt foreign dealings as a military contractor, she said that I have a woman problem. Nikki, I don't have a woman problem. You have a corruption problem. And I think that that's what people need to know. Nikki is corrupt. This is a woman who will send your kids to die so she can buy a bigger house.
He's trying to be like DeSantis.
Using identity politics more effectively than Kamala Harris is a form of intellectual fraud. And it actually
That's so
there's O'Donnell puppet masters wielding their puppet right up here tonight. This is how this game is played. The puppet masters put up their puppet, and I reject the use of identity politics in this party. It has been a cancer coming from the left, and I'm sick and tired of the double standards. The people of this country are too. Having 2 X chromosomes does not immunize you from criticism.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Governor Haley, would you like to respond?
What was that?
It's not worth my time to respond to him.
You have
True. She's right on that.
She knows it's true. And that's
She's
why
right on that.
Sir,
Vivek just looked like a
response
fool.
to the question that was to you.
Okay, we got to move on to this. Now, by arrangement with the Republican National Committee, we've got 2 questions for you about the Justice Department and our election system. Here's Tom Fitton with Judicial Watch. Governor Christie, this one's for you.
President Trump and many of his supporters claim federal law enforcement agencies have abused his civil rights for the last 8 years by, among other things, spying on him and now prosecuting him while having treated Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden with kid gloves.
Why is this idiot on the screen?
A recent Gallup poll shows that Americans think more highly of the U.S. Postal Service than they do the FBI. Why is this guy on the screen? Why are we listening to this clown? What would you do as president to restore the faith of the American people in these agencies?
Well, first off, I'm the only person on this stage who's actually done a job in the Department of Justice. I was the U.S. Attorney in New Jersey in the 5th largest office in this country, appointed by President Bush on September 10th, 2001. And it was an extraordinary time in this country to be on the front lines of fighting the greatest attack against our country since Pearl Harbor. And I'm proud of the 7 years I spent in the Justice Department. And one of the reasons I am is because I had an Attorney General when I came in named John Ashcroft. And John Ashcroft stood up and told each and every one of us our job was to do one thing, to make sure justice was done every day, regardless of partisanship, regardless of gender or race or any other consideration. And that's what we did for 7 years. And at a time when our country was at its greatest moment of danger in the last 40 years, we did exactly that. And there was not another domestic terrorist attack on this soil. So what I would do as president, having had that experience, and the only one who's had that experience, is to pick an attorney general who will absolutely do the same thing that John Ashcroft did. To pick U.S. attorneys who will only care about making sure that justice is done without regard to any other consideration but the facts that are presented and whether someone is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt and the government can prove it. We have had attorneys general like Eric Holder and Loretta Lynch and Jeff Sessions and now our current attorney general who have not met that standard. And the only way you restore people's faith in the justice system is to put someone like that in charge of the Justice Department, and then as president to get the hell out of the way on anything that involves criminal investigations. If a president
What is going on? What is this? I see Tom Pitt. This is insane. Is this like, am I on a trip or something? What is going on? What just happened to the live stream? Am I still streaming?
Mail balloting and no ballot harvesting.
That was
We
weird.
even have an agency that prosecutes people for violating election laws. The result of that, in both 2020 and 2022, we counted millions and millions of votes on election night, produced the results, it was transparent, and everybody was happy. That is not happening throughout this country. But let me tell you this as the nominee. I think it's important. Not every state's where we need it to be. There is ballot harvesting in places like Nevada, all these places. I am not going to fight with one hand tied behind my back. I'm going to have organizations in all the swing states. If they're harvesting, we're harvesting. If they're Zuckerbucks, we're
there
Zuckerbucks.
You go, guys.
We are going to exploit whatever the rules are. I favor changing the rules to be like Florida and some of the other states that have done a good job. But until then, we have to do that. And then just on the Justice Department and FBI. I mean, I remember being, in Iraq working with FBI on the ground and being, and then I was a special assistant. I used to have such a high regard for these agencies. What they did to Donald Trump with the Russia collusion was one of the biggest abuses of power in the history of our country. These agencies need to be cleaned out. With me, you'll have a new FBI director on day one. We're going to clear out the DOJ, the IRS, all these places. Buckle your seatbelts. There's going to be a new sheriff in town.
Thank you. All right, we got to
there
do a
you
quick
go,
break.
guys.
We're going to come back in 1 minute. China up next.
All right. Oh my goodness, just so much craziness here. Okay, so Tom Fitton, like, he's not even a lawyer. Do you know Tom Fitton's not even? What is he doing on the screen? I mean, he's got this funny face. He's the guy that gave Trump all the bad legal advice. Okay, guys, I go, let Trump rot in jail and blah, blah, blah. I didn't always think that, okay? But the guy makes so many stupid mistakes, listens to stupid people, and I don't like the fact that he lied about the election being stolen. I don't like the fact that a friend of mine's sitting in prison because of him and his lies, okay? That's what I don't like. I don't like the fact that Trump shut the country down and now is trying to blame Ron DeSantis and attacking the guy that saved my job, okay? I don't like that. I don't like how he turned the country over to Fauci, and I think maybe a year in prison might do Trump a little good, all right? There you go. Now, having said that, that's what I'm angry at him about. There's Ron DeSantis still, even after he calls him all these names, attacks him and his family, sends his surrogates out to attack his family. There's Ron DeSantis saying, look, okay, in Florida, we didn't do this stupid nonsense of we need a forensic audit. Remember, fix 2020 or die. And then all these grifters, and it's hilarious. But Vivek, okay, Vivek, you're annoying. Okay, he tried to do the DeSantis. Okay, he tried to, but this is like a third grader. Okay, he tried to do a DeSantis moment with the poop map because that went so good. And Nikki Haley equals corrupt. You just look stupid, dude. And then he yells at everybody and says, "Oh, you guys were all licking Trump's butt." And then he turns around and goes, the election was stolen. January 6th was an inside job and da-da-da. The reason why Vivek says that stuff is because all the Tim Pool bozos and the Bannons and all these people, the Patrick Bet-Davids all go, oh, wow, Vivek, oh, look. Wow, he really hit it out of the park. He said the truth. 9/11's an inside job. White people are it's a great replacement theory. I mean, I'm surprised he didn't bring up John F. Kennedy Jr. and say that he's coming back from the dead to be Trump's vice president. I mean, that would have got, no. And then he turns around and accuses them of licking Trump's butt and then goes on a Trump butt-licking rampage. I mean, but it was funny because Vivek, a year ago, DeSantis pointed this out, was saying the opposite. He was saying the election wasn't stolen and call it January 6th an insurrection and stuff. Now they find a grift, and now all these people are like, oh yeah, if I say all these things, then I'm gonna get lots of retweets and lots of attention from the Bannons of the world and the Tucker Carlsons, and that they're all gonna love me and give me a lot of airtime. But other ones like myself who were saying that the election was stolen before, now we realize it wasn't, and really that was to say the election was stolen back then was the unpopular thing to do. Now it's the popular thing to do. It's harder to do the unpopular thing. But in Florida, DeSantis fixed our election system. He said, okay, we need to attack the problem where it is. And he created an election crimes bureau. And when it came down here, right to the courthouse down the road from me, I was at the press conference, and Peter Antonacci was there. I had the last interview with him before he died, which was very sad, and announced the arrest of 20 people for illegally voting before the election, because he realized the problem's not with the machines or any of this other Mike Lindell nonsense. It's with people illegally registering to vote, and then ballot harvesting, and then the Zuckerbucks coming in. So he nailed those three things. And what did we get in Florida? We got a rout. 20 points he won. Republicans took the Miami-Dade school board. Republicans won here in Broward. That was the result of Ron DeSantis fixing the election system. But did the Trump people want to hear about that? No. We don't want to hear about that. So it makes me wonder how much they really care about election integrity. They only care about Trump and kissing his ass.
2023, we're going to talk about our college campuses, starting with you, Ambassador Haley. House Republicans yesterday hauled elite university presidents up to Capitol Hill to answer for the displays of anti-Semitism on college campuses. These leaders, including the president of Harvard, were asked whether calling for the genocide of the Jews would violate school policies against harassment and intimidation. All of them said it would depend on the context, including whether that speech veers into conduct. How do you think these schools and the rest of society should balance the imperative of free speech against the need to prevent radical activists from harassing and intimidating others?
It was disgusting to see what happened. If this had been the KKK that was doing protests on those campuses, every one of those college presidents would have been up in arms. This is just as bad. The idea that they would go and allow that kind of pro-Hamas protest or agree with the genocide of Jews and try and say that they needed context on that, there is no context to that. This is what we need to do to deal with it. First of all, we have got to get foreign money out of our universities. You've got Arab money, you've got Chinese money, you've got others. We need to go to every university and say, you either take foreign money or you take American money, but the days of taking both are over. The second thing we need to do is Biden made a mistake not including anti-Zionism in the definition of anti-Semitism. If you don't think that Israel has a right to exist, that is anti-Semitic. We will change the definition so that every government, every school has to acknowledge the definition for what it is. The third thing is we really do need to ban TikTok once and for all. And let me tell you why. For every 30 minutes that someone watches TikTok every day, they become 17% more anti-Semitic, more pro-Hamas based on doing that. We now know that 50% of adults 18 to 25 think that Hamas was warranted in what they did with Israel. That's a problem. When campuses also don't go and protect when they have these rallies and you've got students that are scared, we need to go to these universities and say, if you're not going to protect these students, if you're not going to acknowledge anti-Semitism, we'll take your tax-exempt status away. That'll fix it, and that'll take care of it for good.
Staying with you, Ambassador Haley. On October 6th, the Israeli government thought it had a clear-eyed view of the threat from Hamas. In fact, according to the New York Times, it even had Hamas's attack plan and dismissed it as an aspiration. The Israelis were wrong. In our country, the FBI director told the Senate panel just yesterday that he sees, quote, blinking red lights everywhere, and that the threat level has, quote, gone to a whole nother level since October 7th. Which of the threats facing our country do you worry could blindside us?
What worries me and what keeps me up at night is what happens between now and Election Day while Joe Biden's in office. That's what worries me more than anything else. But I'll tell you that America right now is acting like it's September 10th. we better remember what September 12th felt like, because it only takes one. And whether you're looking at open borders that are allowing people to come in, Iran knows the easiest way to get to America is through the southern border, and we're not doing anything to stop it. We've got to get the foreign infiltration out of our country, whether it's in our schools, whether it's on our social media, whether it's we need to stop all foreign lobbying that's happening to members of Congress, and we need to start securing America again. Until we do that, we are going to be at threats. We've got to look at Iran, China, and Russia want to destroy the West. We have to start acting strong again. We've got to start protecting Americans. Right now, Americans don't feel protected, and we're not doing anything to strengthen it. So Joe Biden continues to be a problem. That'll change on Election Day.
Governor DeSantis, if China invades Taiwan, would you send American troops, as President Biden has said he would do?
We will be able to deter that from happening. I think that's the important thing. We need a strategy of denial so that we're deterring Xi's ambitions.
What if it doesn't work?
It's going to work. Taiwan's an ally. We have longstanding American policy, and you know how that's done, and we will follow that. But here's the thing. Taiwan is important not just because of semiconductors. It's important because if China is able to break out of this first island chain, they're going to be able to dominate commerce in the entire Indo-Pacific. They will use that to export authoritarianism all around the world, including here in the United States. You look at some of these guys, actually some of them that are supporting Nikki on Wall Street, they grovel to China. Anytime something happens, they got to go do that. So they already exert a huge amount of authority over this country. It will get a lot worse. So deterring China's ambitions is the #1 national security task that I will do as president, and we will succeed. The 21st century needs to be an American century. We cannot let it be a Chinese century.
Mr. Ramaswamy,
I think we need to be clear. I'll be clear on the same issue, if I may.
I'm coming to you next on Taiwan. You said if you want to stop Xi from invading Taiwan, quote, let's open a branch of the NRA in Taiwan and put an AR-15 in the hands of every family and train them how to use it. That will give Xi a taste of American exceptionalism, end quote. The National Police in Taiwan announced a zero-gun policy last year. Is this a serious policy proposal? And if it isn't, why do you keep repeating it?
Well, it's part of a broader deterrence strategy. And so I think I'm going to respectfully disagree with Ron here. I think the next U.S. president needs to be crystal clear that at least for the foreseeable future, the U.S. will absolutely defend Taiwan. And it is with that clarity that we actually achieve deterrence. But I have a broader strategy than that. We need to get on side in our relationship with India, take it to the next level. India has to be able to block the Andaman Sea, which is where China gets most of its Middle Eastern oil supplies. That's critical. I also do believe the Second Amendment is a critical way of preventing foreign autocrats from being able to. It's worked in America. Why wouldn't it work in Taiwan? So it is part of a broader strategy. But I do think that we need to be specific about our deterrence strategy, or else Xi Jinping is just encroaching by the day. And the reason why we're not doing it for China, I want to be crystal clear, is because we're scared. Why are we scared? Because we depend on them for our modern way of life. Why do we depend on them for our modern way of life? It's because Nikki Haley's latest friends like Larry Fink have created commingled economies with BlackRock telling Exxon and Chevron they can't drill here, while being a shareholder of PetroChina, not applying those same constraints in China. So it is our economic dependence on China that makes us scared. If that were a Russian spy balloon, we'd have shot it down in an instant. If that were a Russian spy base in Cuba, we'd be actually going hard on them instead of turning the other way as we are with China. So it comes back down to that economic dependence. We cannot depend on them for our pharmaceuticals, our semiconductors, and people have been lied to for a long time. Our own military, the F-35 jets that we make in this country, depend on China, and it's going to take an outsider to fix that broken establishment.
Thank you, Mr. Ramaswamy. Ambassador Haley, would you like to respond?
I mean, when it comes to China and Taiwan, the one way that we keep China from going into Taiwan is, one, make sure that we win in Ukraine, that we protect our friends, but also let China know that they'll be hell to pay if they go into Taiwan. They need to know that there is going to be a force that's going to go against them. And they need to know it's not just going to be the United States. That is why we need to build our partnerships with India, with South Korea, with Japan, with the Philippines, with Australia. We need to start pulling that alliance together. And the first way we do that is we need to make sure that on day one, we look at the fact, if China pulled the rug out from under us tomorrow, would we be ready? Think about what happened during COVID. Everybody told you to wear a mask. They were made in China. Everybody told you to take a COVID test. They were made in China. Everybody went and, I mean, everything that happened, if you go to the drugstore, all those medicines are made in China. We have to make sure that we are not relying on China for anything related to our national security, which means let's start focusing on doing deals with our friends now.
Thank you, Ambassador. Governor Christie, I'd like you to weigh in on that. And do you think arming every family in Taiwan with an AR-15 is a plausible policy?
You know, I don't think we have constitutional authority over Taiwan to give them a Second Amendment. I think they can only do that for themselves. But look, I want to be really clear. Once again, I want to play the role of actually answering your question, which is if China went after Taiwan, you're absolutely right. I would, as president, have us go militarily and defend them. Secondly, I'm not afraid, based upon those economic relationships, to do that, because these economic relationships mean nothing. Nothing. If what's going to happen is that China is going to come and act in that region of the world however they see fit. It's not right. And I'll say this about what I heard from Nikki earlier. She said that Donald Trump was good on trade. He wasn't. And the proof that he wasn't good on trade with China is that all he did was impose tariffs, which raised the prices for every American. You want to know what has contributed to inflation in this country? Yes, it's more government spending. Yes, it's the fact that we're printing too much money. Absolutely. But it is also the increase in prices that were driven by Donald Trump's tariffs. And one last thing. You can't say he was good on trade because he didn't change one Chinese policy in the process. He failed on it.
Thank you, Governor Christie. Governor DeSantis, switching subjects here. For 15 years, Republicans have been burned by politicians' promises to repeal Obamacare. Trump repeatedly promised to replace it with, quote, something terrific, but failed to propose anything. You're now promising something better, but Florida has more uninsured people than almost any other state. Why should Americans trust you more than any other Republicans who've disappointed them on this issue?
Well, I think we have millions of Americans who do not have access to affordable health care. And it's not just getting some type of card and Medicaid, because a lot of times they don't even get access to doctors. Do you actually get access to care? The other thing is we have millions and millions of people who don't have access to good doctors and good hospitals. Florida did not expand Obamacare. I think the states that did that, I think, are struggling financially. So that, yes, we declined to do that, and I don't think that that was the right policy to do. But we are going to go after the cost. You're paying too much for everything. We've actually addressed this in Florida in some ways, but you need price transparency. You need to hold the pharmaceuticals accountable. You need to hold big insurance and big government accountable, and we're going to get that done. I think it's very, very important economically. I think it's very, very important for the country that we get that done.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I actually wanted to, this is a very personal issue to our family. I wanted to take actually a minute to recognize my wife who's here today. Badass surgeon. She did a bunch of cases with cancer survivors earlier today, flew here to be tonight. We'll be back at 7 a.m. in Columbus, Ohio tomorrow, taking care of those patients in the OR. And on the front lines of people who have actually not swallowed for years. And here's something that's awful that's happening in our healthcare system. They'll pay for anything like feeding tubes, doctors to be pill pushers, but for the procedures that can actually make these patients better, we have a broken healthcare system that doesn't pay for it. My wife, Apoorva, in many cases, does not get paid for those procedures. She does them anyway because it's the right thing to do. But that does not work system-wide. So here's the answer. We don't have a healthcare system in this country. We have a sick care system. We need to start having diverse insurance options in a competitive marketplace that cover actual health, preventative medicine, diet, exercise, lifestyle, and otherwise. And here's how we deliver that. End the antitrust exemptions for health insurance companies. That's where the competitive marketplace begins. That's crony capitalism, and that's the answer.
Okay, through Operation Warp Speed, the Trump administration and private industry developed a COVID vaccine in record time. The program protected the drug companies from virtually all lawsuits over vaccine injuries. The government has a program to compensate for such harm, but critics say it is a black hole of bureaucracy. 12,000 claims filed, 10% decided, only 8 payouts so far, in a forum with no right to counsel, no hearings, no appeals. Mr. Trump says he's very proud of Warp Speed. Should he be?
Well, this question specifically on liability goes back to actually Reagan. And Reagan is a president who I admire. Many of us do. I think that reviving that spirit is in many ways going to be good for this country in so many ways. But one of the areas where he erred was this special form of lobbying to say that one kind of manufacturer, a vaccine manufacturer, cannot be sued for their product liability. So I have pledged, it is part of my legislative agenda, we will repeal that, just like we will repeal every other form of crony capitalism. People who have been harmed by those vaccines deserve accountability. They cannot be forgotten Americans. And I think one of the top lessons we learned from that COVID pandemic is that free speech in this country is most important in those alleged times of emergency. If we had been allowed to openly debate the merits of those vaccines, they would have been never mandated in the way that they were. And in general, I don't think that we should want capitalism and democracy to share the same bed anymore. It's time for a clean divorce. Let companies be companies, but I don't like the crony capitalism. This dates back a long time in both parties. And I think that we need to end the lobbying. And I personally believe that if you have been working in the government, you should not lobby that government for 10 years. If you have been a government elected official doing deals with companies, be they Boeing or be they pharmaceutical companies, you should not join the board of that company for 10 years after. The former chairman of the FDA, the leader commissioner of the FDA, ended up on the board of Pfizer. Nikki Haley did deals with Boeing, ends up on the board of Boeing. I don't care if it's a Republican or a Democrat. We need some basic principles that end the corruption in government. That's how we got the health insurance exemptions. That's how we got the pharmaceutical product liability exemptions. We end the corruption.
We need a reckoning for what this government did during COVID-19. That includes the mRNA shots. They put it out. It was experimental. People wanted it. Then the government started trying to mandate it, to say you don't have a right to put food on your table if you don't take an mRNA shot that was under emergency use. They tried to take nurses away. Now, in Florida, we blocked that. We provided protections for everybody so that they wouldn't lose their job. You also have the FDA approving an mRNA shot for 6-month-old babies. There was no data to support that. They're doing it because big pharma will make money. So I'm going to go in there, CDC, NIH, FDA. We're going to clean house. There's going to be a reckoning because right now nobody's been held accountable for any of the damage. And they're going to try to do it again. When I'm president, this will never happen to our country ever again.
Yeah! Woo! Let's go, baby! Yeah! That's right!
Closing statement.
That's right! Thank you, Megyn Kelly. Oh, my God! Thank you. Operation Warp Speed. I'm like, huh? Wait, whoa, what? Wait, whoa. I thought we were pretending like the fake pandemic, the vaccine mandates never happened. Just getting started.
We are going to give
you I thought we were just pretending like these things never happened, but she went there. There we go. And Ron DeSantis is right. He is the only one who he's even talking about this. Bringing a reckoning. And guess what, guys? Guess what's coming this month? Unless they ask for 6 more months. Please don't ask for 6 more months. The grand jury that Ron DeSantis has impaneled to look into specifically Travis Kelce's best friends, Pfizer and Moderna, and the lies that they told when it came to the safety of their COVID shots, okay? That's going to come back. That's a criminal grand jury. There could be criminal charges against these companies and their CEOs coming out of Florida. What would that mean? What would that look like? I don't know, but Ron DeSantis and Ashley Moody have a plan. They're the only ones doing it, and they will do it again. They will try to force. Nobody's been held accountable. And I see all these Trump accounts with pure blood, and which I believe means not vaccinated, but I guess that can mean other things, but I believe that's what that means. And then arrest Fauci and stuff. Guys, you got to stop divorcing Trump from Fauci, okay? He had a shot to, that's pretty funny there. He had a shot to come around and denounce Fauci and say that he's mad that he got bamboozled and that he's gonna get retribution. But when I hear Trump talk about retribution, he's not talking about Fauci. Trump's enemies are like guys like me and you, like DeSantis supporters. We're his enemies now. You got his surrogates out there. Laura Loomer, we're gonna make a list And Trump's going to know exactly who betrayed him. He's not talking about Fauci and these guys. He's talking about like DeSantis and his supporters, which is insane. Okay. Nobody should be talking about making lists and using the government to go after people. That's insane. But DeSantis, actually, we know who he cares about protecting people, and that includes Trump supporters. DeSantis isn't going to have a grudge against people that supported Trump when he gets in office. A lot of those people are his voters too. DeSantis is the only one who will give us the reckoning for what they did to us. They told people in Florida we had it good because we had him. I had the Broward government to deal with. Thank God for Ron DeSantis, because this Broward government would have had us locked down, would have had it just like California. We would have had vaccine passports, but he had the foresight to ban vaccine passports before they even became a thing because he saw it coming, just like with the central bank digital currency. And he tied these guys' hands and he said, we're not doing it. And then he signed laws so it can never happen again in Florida. And when he gets to D.C., because, guys, he is cleaning house tonight. Do you see? This is his best debate ever. This is the best I've seen him. He is the guy that we are going to put in office as president. I don't care what some little bow tie loser at some polling agency says. I don't care what they say. They have an agenda, obviously. Ron DeSantis is going to the White House, and when he gets there, he's going to bring accountability and a reckoning for this. In states like California, New York, these places, you couldn't go somewhere unless you had you had to show your papers to eat at a restaurant. People were losing their jobs, being thrown out of the military because they wouldn't take Trump's shot. And Trump shepherded that whole thing through and then said sayonara. And since then, he's done nothing but continue to say he did the right thing and continue to embrace Fauci. Insane. There you go. You got your Operation Warp Speed question. Oh, Trump is fuming right now. I guarantee it. Oh,
Alabama.
I'm going to get revenge on her.
We're going to do one
for saying
final
that.
question before closing statements, and we want to get you all
right.
in, so we're going to give you 45 seconds for this last one. Governor Christie, we're going to start with you. Which former president would you draw inspiration from for your own presidency, and why?
I would draw inspiration from Ronald Reagan. In the last year, I've spent a lot of time writing a book about President Reagan that's going to be called What Would Reagan Do? That book's going to come out early in 2024. And what I learned more than anything else was that Ronald Reagan was a slave to the truth. Ronald Reagan stood up for the truth, whether it was popular or unpopular at the moment. In 1964, he stood up against the John Birch Society when it was very unpopular to the party to do it, but he would not put up with our party standing for lies and deceit, even if it gave him political progress. That's the kind of president that I will be, and I would draw that inspiration from the 40th president of the United States, Ronald Reagan.
Ambassador Haley.
Well, I have to say, too, I think George Washington, when you look at the responsibilities he had of how do you go and take on this great American experiment and make sure that the people are protected. And they always knew that government was intended to secure the rights and freedoms of the people. It was never meant to be all things to all people. And then you look at Abraham Lincoln, and you look at the challenges, and you look at the division that happened in our country, and the ability to lead in spite of the loud noises and say, what will bring out the best in people to get us to go forward is always something that's important. And I think we need that now more than ever.
Governor DeSantis.
Reagan, Washington, Lincoln, excellent. One of the guys I'll take inspiration from is Calvin Coolidge. Now, people don't talk about him a lot. He's one of the few presidents that got almost everything right. He understood the proper role of the federal government under the Constitution. We need to restore the U.S. Constitution as the centerpiece of our national life. And that requires a president who understands the original understanding of the Constitution, who has a good sense of the Bill of Rights, and who knows how we've gone off track with this massive fourth branch of government, this administrative state, which is imposing its will on us and is being weaponized against us. So Silent Cal knew the proper role of the federal government. The country was in great shape when he was president of the United States, and we can learn an awful lot from Calvin Coolidge.
Over to you, Mr. Ramaswamy, to conclude our history lesson.
Sure. Well, I will say Ron picked a president who was born on July 4th. I'll pick one who died on July 4th. It's Thomas Jefferson. He was 33 years old when he wrote the Declaration of Independence. And you all are sitting on a swivel chair today. He invented the swivel chair while he was at it, while writing that Declaration of Independence. That's that founding spirit that we miss, that we're the pioneers. We're the explorers, the guy who sent him out on the Lewis and Clark expeditions. And I think a lot about what would Thomas Jefferson say to today's Republican Party. And I think one thing he'd remind us of, we haven't talked about it as much tonight, but I think it is one of the interesting ideological discussions we're having in our party is freedom of speech. You get to express your mind freely no matter how heinous the opinion. Thomas Jefferson understood that.
All right.
He's an inspiration for me.
Thank you, Mr. Ramaswamy. And believe it or not, it's time for closing statements. Governor Christie, would you like to begin?
Sure, thank you. I want you all to kind of picture in your minds Election Day. You'll all be heading to the polls to vote, and that's something that Donald Trump will not be able to do because he will be convicted of felonies before then, and his right to vote will be taken away. You know,
probably will.
Look, here's the bottom line. You can boo about it all you like and continue to deny reality. But if we deny reality as a party, we're going to have 4 more years of Joe Biden. When my colleagues here raised their hands and said they would support him even if he was a convicted felon, the bigger problem with it is they were confirming the lies he's told to the American people. If you're too timid to take on Trump, believe me, others will see that timidity. Xi, Putin and the Ayatollah, the border crossers on the southern border, and the criminals in our streets. They'll sense that timidity and they'll take advantage of that failure of leadership. We need to get back to an old American idea that every person is responsible for their own conduct, even a president. I'll be the kind of president who has the humility that knows that you work for the people. It's not the other way around. I will earn your trust. I want to earn your vote.
Thank you, Governor Christie. Mr. Ramaswamy?
I'll use this to just address a topic we didn't talk about tonight, but I think is one of the most important topics that needs to be discussed. That is this climate change agenda that is shackling this country like a set of handcuffs. I said at the first debate, and I stand by it. The climate change agenda is a hoax because it has nothing to do with the climate. That's what we have to see. 98% reduction in the climate disaster-related deaths in the last century. 8 times as many people are going to die of cold temperatures this year than warm ones. Yet against that backdrop, there's an issue coming up in Iowa. It's core to Iowa farmers. I met Kim Junker, Kathy Stockdale, and other farmers who are about to have a carbon capture pipeline built across their land using eminent domain to do it. That's unconstitutional and it's wrong. And if you thought COVID was bad, what's coming with this climate agenda is far worse. We should not be bending the knee to this new religion. That is what it is. It is a substitute for a modern religion. We are flogging ourselves and losing our modern way of life, bowing to this new god of climate, and that will end on my watch.
Thank you,
It's the most critical
Ambassador
issue
Haley.
that's coming up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our country is in chaos. We see it on the southern border. We see it on our streets in our cities. We see it on college campuses. We feel it with our economy, with inflation and with debt. And we feel it around the world with wars in Europe and within the Middle East. We have to stop the chaos, but you can't defeat Democrat chaos with Republican chaos. And that's what Donald Trump gives us. My approach is different. No drama, no vendettas, no whining. I envision an America where we're protected from illegal immigration and Chinese infiltration. I envision an America where we unleash our economy and we reject socialism. But more importantly, I envision an America where we rediscover our national purpose and our pride.
Thank you.
I crush Joe Biden in the polls. And if you give me this chance, we will crush him in November and take our country back. Go to NikkiHaley.com.
Thank you, Ambassador Haley. Governor DeSantis.
We are in jeopardy of being the first generation of Americans to leave to our kids and grandkids in America less prosperous and less free than the one we inherited. I refuse to sit idly by and let that happen. But we got to have people that are going to be willing to fight the people that are doing this to us. You can't be these establishment Republicans that just cave at the first sign of opposition. I'll fight for you. We also need to win again as a party. Yes, win the election, which we've struggled to do, but also win on these big issues. And nobody has defeated these people more than what I have done in the state of Florida on issue after issue. We have won, and we have won big, and that's what we'll do for you. We also need leadership. Leadership is not about doing what's easy. It's about being willing to set out that vision, knowing they're going to shoot arrows at you. They're going to come at you. I will fight the good fight. I will keep the faith, and I will finish the race. Thank you, and God bless you.
Yeah! Woo! That's from Ephesians, guys. There he is. There he is. There we go, guys. This was Ron DeSantis' night, and check this out, guys. Check this out. All right. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. Haley's done. Christie's annoying. Vivek's
and just
annoying.
like that, the state of
there
the race has changed. I do hope we hold this shot.
Should we listen
to
to these guys?
Sometimes you get to learn
listen
something.
to these guys?
You saw Governor Christie go up and shake hands with Nikki Haley. She seemed to say something nice to him. A little bit of an exchange with DeSantis, polite enough. Nobody going up to Ramaswamy. Not a surprise after what we saw here. And that is it.
Would you want to talk to that guy?
Would
you want to be friends with that guy? He's annoying.
Of the last Republican primary debate before the all-important Holy Day season, when Nikki Haley and the three gentlemen will now have to go back and tell people, you saw me on the stage. I am the one.
All right.
If it's not Trump,
okay, so
then
guys,
it's me. I'm Chris Cuomo. Thank you so
I got
much
a
for staying with
scandal
us here.
Okay, there's a breaking scandal. Okay, people have been posting that people watching on pro-Trump Rumble, when they went to the question about Operation Warp Speed, that Rumble, which is like Trump's platform, like Dan Bongino and Trump basically run that thing, okay? And they're supposedly free speech because they were allowing debate about the vaccine and stuff when YouTube was shutting people down. And Rumble even moved their headquarters to Florida. DeSantis put his stopped putting his stuff on YouTube, started putting it on Rumble. Let's check this out. Did Rumble cut to a commercial when they brought up warp speed?
Inflation, which my administration, by the end of year one,
all right, let's
have a 75% reduction
all right.
in the number of federal.
I'm gonna look right now. Let's check this out. Let's check this out. This will take a minute.
Any regulation that fails the
with
test
me here, all right?
of West Virginia versus EPA, which
Sorbo here.
It's not just terror.
See, you got stuff like
wanted to import 300,000 people from
the Great Replacement
and every time. $1 billion plan.
Each veers into conduct.
Because it only
we'd be actually going hard on them instead of turning the other way as we are with China.
Something better.
Reverse insurance options because it's the right thing.
they need to know.
That. It's the John Birch Society.
All right. Where was
tomorrow? Take
years. Okay, I'm coming to you next.
All right.
As an aspiration.
We need to do.
Text Attorney General, the Department of
this new religion.
Today she bragged that I do not have, as a parent,
and help
on this debate stage.
Father time is
just the answer.
One of his first.
And that corporate seed.
Ambassador Haley.
Continued to lie.
Left. My books are.
This. Now by arrangement with the
party.
You do not have, as a parent, you do not have the right to abuse your kids. This is cutting.
There we go. Talk about
this is mutilating these minors.
You don't have the
These
right
are
to
irreversible procedures, and this is something that other countries in Europe, like Sweden, once they started doing it, they saw it did incalculable damage. They've shut it down. I signed legislation in Florida banning the mutilation of minors because it is wrong. We cannot allow this to happen in this country. And I know Chris disagrees with me, and I think he has an honest position. Nikki disagrees with me. She opposes the bill that we did to ban that. She said law shouldn't get involved with it. You said the law shouldn't get involved with it. She also, though, I think, and this flows from what she did as governor of South Carolina, they had a bill to try to say that men shouldn't go into girls' bathrooms. And she killed that bill, and she bragged that she killed that bill. Even to this day, she bragged that. I don't think men should be going into little girls' bathrooms. I think it's wrong, and I think we have every right to protect them from that.
I am going to come to you. I promise 10 seconds. Go quickly.
I think the North Star here is transgenderism is a...
To South Carolina.
Ron.
I signed the bill. I protected the girls.
Do you know South Carolinians?
She did not do it.
Do you know
I know
South Carolinians?
that.
No. You are not
signed
going to
the
talk
bill.
about my state
What
like
else
that
do you
because
want?
I will
You
tell
didn't
you
do
for
it.
a fact. South Carolinians never allowed that to happen, and we did not have that issue at the time. What I have always said is boys going to a boys' bathroom, girls going to a girls' bathroom. But hold on 1 second.
And an actual instance, there's our puppet masters wielding their puppet right up here tonight. This is how this game is played. The puppet masters put up their puppet, and I reject the use of identity politics.
They cut away from it, but look.
And an actual instance, there's our donor puppet
him doing that
masters
Nikki
wielding their
Corruption, they
puppet
cut
right
away when he did it.
talking about how she would kick in heels. At the first debate, she said that only a woman can get this job done. That's what she said.
Look, I'm just saying, I mean, not to sound stupid or anything, but I do think Vivek has a problem with women. I do. The way he acts, I'll bet you... I bet you his wife can't get a word in edgewise. I mean, he does. Haley had a point. I think he does kind of have a problem with women. All right, but this just yeah, she's corrupt. But
after the third debate, when I criticized Ronna McDaniel after 5 failed years of leadership of this party,
look, women aren't gonna like this. Vivek doing this. Like DeSantis, when he went after Haley, it was about her policies and stuff like that, and but Vivek really does have a problem. I mean,
criticized Nikki for her corrupt foreign dealings as a military contractor. She said that I have a woman problem. Nikki, I don't have a woman problem. You have a corruption problem, and I think that that's what people need to know. Nikki is corrupt.
look at him. Like he is clearly a sociopath. Okay. And he's made some good points tonight, but he doesn't, like, you can tell, look how angry he looks. I gotta take a picture of this. Look how angry he is. I mean, like, he's like, ah! I mean, this is not gonna, that's not gonna go over well. All right, I'm just telling you. She might be corrupt, and it's silly. It looks like a third grader wrote it. And I mean, what's, just look at him. He's an angry little man, okay? This doesn't land, and he goes on, and he tries to make sound bites that Bannon and Tim Pool and Patrick Bet-David will like about great replacement theory and all this other crap, and he just says what he needs to say because he wants popularity. But I think he does have a problem with women. I do. I can tell. Okay, but anyway, I want to find the warp speed question. All right. Because I'm hearing that Rumble cut out on
anything that involves criminal investigations. If a president's involved,
and some of the other states that have done a good job. But until then, we have to do that. And then just on the Justice Department and FBI. I mean, I remember being, in Iraq working with FBI on the ground and being, and then I was a special assistant. I used to have such a high regard for these agencies. What they did to Donald Trump with the Russia collusion was one of the biggest abuses of power in the history of our country.
There he is.
These agencies need to be cleaned out. With me, you'll have a new FBI director on day one. We're going to clear out the DOJ, the IRS, all these places. Buckle your seatbelts. There's going to be a new sheriff in town.
Yeah. Like that was so weird when Tom Fitton, like, look at DeSantis' face. Like, what is this bozo doing up on the screen? Like what on earth was? Yeah, I'm with you, Kim. Like, I thought that looked so stupid. The look on his face. I mean, he looks like a sociopath. But look at this guy Fitton and his like this is the fake lawyer that told Trump all these things that ended up getting him in trouble. Because people tell Trump what he wants. What was he doing there? Like, why? That was just like a weird thing. But I'm trying to find the warp speed question.
in plain sight,
is 898 you can trust. And their new medical emergency kits are the gold standard when it comes to keeping you safe and healthy. This medical emergency kit contains an assortment of life-saving medications, including ivermectin, Z-Pak. Rest assured, knowing that you have
property
In a penny from any
Biden basically
No GOP presidential primary on college, including whether
See, need to ban the
country
acting on that.
But here's the thing. Taiwan is imposing conditions.
Having American exceptionalism.
This take what
We win and you build our under us since
Every family in Taiwan.
Once every American
Than almost any.
don't have a healthcare system in this country. Healthcare system not here today.
Government accountable, and we're going to get that done. I think it's very, very important economically. I think it's very, very important. And good hospitals, access to afford.
Florida has more
And it's not. I think
I want to find this. Okay, oh, there it is.
Private industry developed a COVID vaccine.
Look at this, guys. Look at you who's still watching. Watch this on Rumble. Watch what happens when they bring up Operation Warp Speed. Look at this. Watch.
End the antitrust exemptions for health insurance companies. That's where the competitive marketplace begins.
Next
That's crony
question's for you.
capitalism, and that's the answer.
Okay, through Operation Warp Speed, the Trump administration and private industry developed a COVID vaccine in record time.
No way. Look at that. Look. Oh! Free speech, my ass. What is Trump sitting there going, no, we can't. Rumble, shame on you. Look at that. They bring up warp speed. Look at that. Are you guys seeing this? I'm recording it right now, man. Look at that. What the hell is this? She asked about warp speed. I guess she wasn't supposed to ask that. Censorship free, my ass. This is a platform controlled by Trump. Hey, didn't want to hear about it. Just wow. Wow. Does it come back? No way. Rumble cut.
Your answer, the 808 elephant pin, shows
Look, and then
that
it
you
goes
are
to
a
this
top
stupid
supporter
Trump
of the GOP.
pin stuff.
But there are only
at
25.
this.
If you're not careful
And
where
these
you put which
bozos
eats
hawking
away at your
gold and
savings.
stuff. Look at that. Rumble, shame on you. Now you go to all the Trump grifters. Shame on you. Did they even go back to it? Look, oh, look, and they even have some time to break the shackles of big tech, and you guys just censored a question about Operation Warp Speed? Now look at this.
Alabama.
Wow.
Final question.
Wow, guys. Did you just see that? Wow. Wow, have we fallen, or has Rumble fallen, or what? Just wow. Rumble is now gone to censoring about vaccine. They started and launched as a site where you could share vaccine, share freely about the vaccine and censorship. Now they have become a site that censors it because of Trump. Wow, unfreaking believable. And let's get, for all the people that were watching on Rumble for some reason, which I don't know why you'd be watching on there anyway, Bongino's platform. Unbelievable. Here was DeSantis's response to that. Just unreal. Look at this. Let's see what this is what Rumble censored.
We need a reckoning for what this
Hold on. I need to change it. This is what Rumble censored. Just wow. Here's what was censored by Rumble.
We need a reckoning for what this government did during COVID-19. That includes the mRNA shots. They put it out. It was experimental. People wanted it. Then the government started trying to mandate it, to say you don't have a right to put food on your table if you don't take an mRNA shot that was under emergency use. They tried to take nurses away. Now, in Florida, we blocked that. We provided protections for everybody so that they wouldn't lose their job. You also have the FDA approving an mRNA shot for 6-month-old babies. There was no data to support that. They're doing it because Big Pharma will make money. So I'm going to go in there, CDC, NIH, FDA. We're going to clean house. There's going to be a reckoning because right now nobody's been held accountable for any of the damage. And they're going to try to do it again. When I'm president, this will never happen to our country ever again.
Thank you.
We need a reckoning for what this government did during COVID-19. That includes the mRNA shots. They put it out. It was experimental. People wanted it. Then the government started trying to mandate it, to say you don't have a right to put food on your table if you don't take an mRNA shot that was under emergency use. They tried to take nurses away. Now, in Florida, we blocked that. We provided protections for everybody so that they wouldn't lose their job. You also have the FDA approving an mRNA shot for 6-month-old babies. There was no data to support that. They're doing it because Big Pharma will make money. So I'm going to go in there, CDC, NIH, FDA. We're going to clean house. There's going to be a reckoning because right now nobody's been held accountable for any of the damage. And they're going to try to do it again. When I'm president, this will never happen to our country ever again.
Thank you.
We need a reckoning for what this government did during COVID-19. That includes the mRNA shots. They put it out. It was experimental. People wanted it. Then the government started trying to
Shame on Rumble. Unbelievable. Shame on them. They didn't want that. But guess what? The people watching heard it. Okay, you can't censor Rumble. Rumble gained its popularity by not censoring COVID vaccine stuff. Do you see the irony in this? Wow. Just wow. This guy. And look at Vivek's face. I mean, this is a big deal because and then you got this coward Dan Bongino who acts like he's this big muscle guy and big tough guy, and he blocks anybody that like challenges him on any of his stuff. Okay, he's the guy doing it. They pulled that on Rumble. I mean, just unbelievable. But that just shows you they care more about Trump than the truth. And that is just so true with all this now. These guys, they care more about Trump and their position with Trump, running cover for Trump. Trump's okay with censorship. Trump wants to use the government to get even with his enemies. Trump is all about the warp speed shot. He did it. He named it. Trump is the left now. These guys, they use all the same tactics as the left. They dox, they harass, they mock, they do all these things. They censor, they try to intimidate. Trump and his people are the left now. And now you got Rumble. Who's going to want to watch Rumble after this? I mean, another site, BitChute, whatever. I mean, this is Rumble censoring vaccine information. Are you freaking kidding me? Really? Rumble censoring vaccine information? Wow. They cut the whole thing out to go to their dumbass little Kevin Sorbo vaccine corner. And then they literally, look at this, they literally have, are you tired of big tech? And then they literally put that. Look at this. And then they, look, time to break the big tech shackles. Look at that. Look at that. Censoring. They're censoring it. Is this a joke? Sorry, I know I know this is bad. It just go dead air, and I mean, everybody that's still watching, thank you. You must be like my hardcore fans. But then they put out this. It's time to break the big tech shackles. I mean, is this a joke? Sadly, it's not. And Tommy Lahren calls it out. Let's go to Twitter. Let's see what's up here. Tommy Lahren calls it out. Rumble stops down on the vax question. What's going on? I'll tell you, Tommy. They don't want to hear that. Megyn Kelly, honestly, I was pissed when the first started, but Megyn Kelly showed herself to be awesome. I don't think she was supposed to ask that question. I do not think Megyn Kelly was supposed to ask that question. I think that she did that on her own, and the people freaked out. And isn't it interesting that the censorship-free platform, the Trump platform, we've gone full circle now. On Twitter, you can see it just fine, but on Rumble, that was set up because you couldn't talk freely about how deadly the shots were and things like that. You couldn't talk freely about it on other platforms, but Rumble became popular because you could talk about stuff like that. And now they have decided they're going to censor that. Oh boy, just unbelievable. I mean, this is just wow. And where was I streaming from? I wasn't streaming from dumbass Rumble. I was streaming from News Nation. So News Nation doesn't block that out, but Rumble does. I mean, how do I get out of this to where I'm not seeing my own stream? But I mean, let's see if the DeSantis people are calling this out, because this is just all right. They're so focused on Nikki. All the people, all of DeSantis people are so focused on Nikki. I guess maybe they know that they need to knock her out or whatever. But let's see what DeSantis War Room's saying. They're just going after Nikki so much, man. Everything with DeSantis Warren is Nikki. They must feel like, oh, if they get Nikki out of the way, then it'll just be DeSantis and Trump. But man, I mean, this was great that let's see if Christine is saying anything about this. Because Rumble censoring like that, I mean, that's just insane. That is crazy. You know, that to me, I sorry guys, it's just so ironic, because we were constantly being censored about this stuff, and now it's Rumble doing it. Okay, let's check this out. Some fact checks on Nikki Haley. Here's Nikki Haley basically saying that she supports boys and girls bathrooms.
When I was governor, the bathroom bill was happening in North Carolina. I don't know if you remember that, but they had an issue of, you had to show your birth certificate on which bathroom you were going to use, or something like that. And I remember a state senator in South Carolina filed a bill, and I strong-armed him, and I said, we are not having that in South Carolina. When I was governor, the bathroom bill was happening in North Carolina. I don't know if you remember that, but they had an issue of, you had to show your birth certificate on which bathroom you were going to use, or something like that. And I remember a state senator in South Carolina filed a bill, and I strong-armed him, and I said, we are not having that in South Carolina.
Whoa!
When I was governor.
Did you just hear that? Whoa, she might be a sociopath too. I strong-armed him. What the hell is going on? Yeah, she says one thing to one audience and then another thing to another, just like Vivek. Vivek and Nikki Haley are a lot alike. They're a lot alike. I mean, she just gets up there and lies about things that she just did. It's like, and then she's saying, I've always supported separate bathrooms for biological boys and girls. No, she hasn't. I mean, you saw it. I strong-armed them. But then she was like, we're going to find your name if you're on social media talking talking anonymously. I mean, I think Nikki Haley's a sociopath, just like Vivek. And Chris Christie he just believes what he believes. He thinks that the trans surgeries and stuff like that are okay. He's basically right there with Biden on that stuff. It's because Chris Christie, he's not a Christian. Okay, he's not a man of faith. Okay, it's very, very clear. And neither is Nikki Haley, and Vivek's a Hindu. The only Christian up there is Ron DeSantis. Okay, let's just be real. The only Christian on that stage is Ron DeSantis, and he has the values. Because if you don't have values, oh God, why is Alex Jones trending? You don't. I mean, the only candidate that has values is Ron DeSantis. You can tell because he doesn't need to be like trying to change his position on things or anything like that. He knows what he believes and he says it. Okay.
Reagan, Washington, Lincoln, excellent. One of the guys I'll take inspiration from is Calvin Coolidge. Now, people don't talk about him a lot. He's one of the few presidents that got almost everything right. He understood the proper role of the federal government under the Constitution. We need to restore the U.S. Constitution as the centerpiece of our national life. And that requires a president who understands the original understanding of the Constitution, who has a good sense of the Bill of Rights, and who knows how we've gone off track with this massive fourth branch of government, this administrative state, which is imposing its will on us and is being weaponized against us. So Silent Cal knew the proper role of the federal government. The country was in great shape when he was president of the United States, and we can learn an awful lot from Calvin Coolidge. Reagan, Washington, Lincoln, excellent. One of the guys I'll take inspiration from is Calvin Coolidge. Now, people don't talk about him a lot. He's one of the few presidents that got almost everything right. He understood the proper role of the federal government under the Constitution. We need to restore the U.S. Constitution as the centerpiece of our national life. And that requires a president who understands the original understanding of the Constitution, who has a good sense of the Bill of Rights, and who knows how we've gone off track with this massive fourth branch of government, this administrative state, which is imposing its will on us and is being weaponized against us. So Silent Cal knew the proper role of the federal government. The country was in great shape when he was president of the United States, and we can learn an awful lot from Calvin Coolidge.
There you go. I think DeSantis is he's the only guy that talks about the Constitution. But, you know, the Trump people, they'll just, like, take a picture of his face right there and go, oh, look, he made a funny face. Oh, yeah, he went like this. Oh, do you see that? He made a funny face. There is a guy, I mean, Trump hasn't read the Constitution. I didn't hear anybody else talk about the Constitution. The only person I heard say one word about the Constitution is Ron DeSantis. And, guys, it's kind of important to know what the Constitution says and know your authority as president, because that's how you get things done. Trump didn't know what his constitutional authority was. That's why he kept getting smacked down. He thought he could just go in and just write all these executive orders. And if you're president, oh, doesn't that mean you're a dictator? No, it doesn't. You have to wield that constitutional authority and know what it says to begin with, and then know how to handle that power and how to use that power to further the agenda and get these things done. All right. Not, you don't, because look how easy it was for Biden to come in. You remember that giant stack he had of just undoing everything Trump did? It was that easy because he didn't get anything actually done constitutionally when he was president. So it was very easy to undo it all. DeSantis is the only guy talking about the Constitution up there. All right, so that was just great getting that COVID question, getting the warp speed question and Rumble censoring it. And oh, here, this was very good to Christie, because look, Christie's going, this argument that, okay, Christie was annoying tonight. I mean, I get it about Trump. I'm with you. Trump sucks. No, I understand it, but that can't be the centerpiece of why you want to be president. Okay, we all know Trump sucks. Okay, like that can't be your platform. Okay, Trump sucks. That's my platform. And really, Christie shouldn't have even qualified tonight. They used that Trafalgar poll that he was polling like at 1% or something. Then suddenly a Trafalgar poll comes out showing him at exactly what he needs to get on the debate stage. That was bizarre. But he doesn't have, he does this whole idea that, oh, well, we're for smaller government, so we believe that, I mean, because we're for smaller government, do we believe that parents should let their kids do drugs? I mean, they kind of do with the Adderall and all that stuff, but like do we say that, you should be able to do whatever you want with your kids? You should be able to abuse them. You should be able to let them take drugs. You should be able to do it because we're Republicans. We believe in smaller government, so we're just going to let people do whatever the hell they want. I mean, is that how it works? No. So this argument's disingenuous, and Christie's trying to get around the fact that he's not a Christian. He doesn't have a moral core on this. He thinks that transitioning kids is okay. All right, let's just be real about where he stands on this. All right. So DeSantis really lays it down on him right here, and it was very good.
Don't know that slippery slope, what rights are going to be taken away next, and what's going to be focused on.
As a parent, you do not have the right to abuse your kids. This is cutting off their genitals. This is mutilating these minors. These are irreversible procedures, and this is something that other countries in Europe, like Sweden, once they started doing it, they saw it did incalculable damage. They've shut it down. I signed legislation in Florida banning the mutilation of minors because it is wrong. We cannot allow this to happen in this country. And I know Chris disagrees with me, and I think he has an honest position. Nikki disagrees with me. She opposes the bill that we did to ban that. She said the law shouldn't get involved with it. You said the law shouldn't get involved with it. She also, though, I think, and this flows from what she did as governor.
Hold on a second here.
She also, though, I think, and this flows from what she shouldn't get involved that we did to ban that. She said the law shouldn't get involved with it. You said the law shouldn't get involved with it. She also, though, I think.
She goes, I did not. Let's go.
And this flows from what she did as governor of South Carolina. You know, they had a bill to try to say that men shouldn't go into girls' bathrooms. And she killed that bill, and she bragged that she killed that bill. Even to this day, she bragged that. I don't think men should be going into little girls' bathrooms. I think it's wrong, and I think we have every right to protect them from that.
I did not. But then you look back, and yes, you did. Okay, I didn't even know about this clip, but look. I did not. But look. Hold on a second. Where do I have to redo this every time? All right. Hold on a second here. Let me share this so I can and say, okay, she goes, I did not. But wait, hold on a second. Roll clip.
When I was governor, the bathroom bill was happening in North Carolina. I don't know if you remember that, but they had an issue of, you had to show your birth certificate on which bathroom you were going to use or something like that. And I remember a state senator
She's making fun of it.
In South Carolina filed a bill. And I strong-armed him, and I said, we are not having that in South Carolina.
Look at that, I strong-armed
When I was governor, the bathroom bill was happening in North Carolina. I don't know if you remember that, but they had an issue of, you had to show your birth certificate on which bathroom you were going to use.
She's making fun of it. Just like she called it the Don't Say Gay bill. Guys, she's a liar. And you can tell. She's a lib on these things. At least Christie has the cojones to be a lib on it, even though he tries to couch it in this whole well, we're Republicans. We don't think that the government should be getting involved in things. Okay, whatever. It's not the truth. That's not the Republican stand on this thing. Okay, but she's just lying. She's like, no, I did not. But like, look, you're not. They got the clips to show. She's making fun of it there. You heard her. She's like, oh, they have to where you have to show your birth certificate to go in the bathroom.
You were going to use or something like that. And I remember a state senator in South Carolina filed a bill, and I strong-armed him, and I said, we are not having that in South Carolina.
Wow.
When I was governor.
I mean, there you go. And then another tell, she calls it the Don't Say Gay bill. All right, a statement has come out from Ron DeSantis' team. DeSantis doesn't change his principles based on his audience or what big donors say. Think. He's a principled fighter who delivers results for the American people. James Uthmeyer. Badass, by the way, James Uthmeyer. Ron DeSantis presented a clear and compelling vision for his presidency and his victory in the 4th presidential primary debate. Bill O'Reilly even said that he won this. He obviously won this. He's the only candidate who will fight, win, lead our nation's revival. Tonight's victory made it clear. Tonight, voters saw Ron as the only strong conservative candidate on stage, unlike Nikki Haley, who caves to the media, CCP, corporate Democrats, and supporters of gender mutilation for minors. DeSantis doesn't change his principles based on his audience or what big donors think. He's a principled fighter who delivers results for the American people. Ron DeSantis is a strong leader who will lead our party to win again. Yeah. Look, BlackRock commented on Florida's Voice News. Look, BlackRock focuses on health. DeSantis, Vivek Raghunathan about taking ESG and these woke corporations took $2 billion from BlackRock. They basically want to change society without needing to go through the constitutional process. We've kneecapped that in Florida. BlackRock responded. BlackRock focuses on helping millions of Americans retire securely. We make decisions based on our clients' best interests, not political or ideological agendas. Demonizing law-abiding American companies undermines confidence in U.S. markets and leadership. DeSantis triggered BlackRock. That is funny. They responded to him. DeSantis triggered BlackRock. Guys, look, I see it in Fort Lauderdale here, okay? We just had New York developers come in and basically they own the commission here, and they're just going to put these 2 giant, unaffordable towers right in the middle of Fort Lauderdale where it's going to be just awful. And this is what BlackRock is like. They're like the big New York developer, and they're going to come and they want to be the nation's landlord. They want everybody renting from them. Everybody, listen to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on this. He's right on. BlackRock is bad, okay? And they profit from the war in wherever, Ukraine. They profit from all these things, okay? And DeSantis is taking them on, and they're into all the woke ESG pronoun crap and forcing that down everybody's throat. DeSantis divested from them, and he triggered them. He triggered BlackRock. That's something. They just eviscerated Haley. DeSantis just eviscerated Haley on this stuff. But let me see if there's anything else. Oh yeah, she called it the "Don't Say Gay" bill. Oh, there we go. Christina reposted this. Rumble cuts to commercial. I mean, just insane. You have censorship there. Guys, thanks for watching. And yeah, I talked over the debate a little bit tonight, but this wasn't like the Newsom debate, okay? And honestly, people are, oh, Chris, why are you talking over that? All right, if you don't like, there's plenty of places. You don't have to watch this stream. You can watch it somewhere else, okay? Like, get bent. I'm gonna do what I want on my own stream, okay? And a lot of it was cheering for DeSantis because he's clearly the winner here. You're gonna hear the same crap from the Trump people. Oh, Trump actually won that debate. That doesn't even make any sense. He wasn't even there. How do you win a debate that you're too chicken to show up for? There's now been 4 debates, and Trump has refused to show up to any of them. Okay, fine. Be that way. Sit in your freaking basement. Sit in your dungeon, piss and moan, attack Ron DeSantis, put out these idiotic polls, put out your stupid little memes that aren't even funny. They're not even funny. Put out pictures of DeSantis in high heels, do all that crap. Whatever, dude. The bottom line is you are well, I said it earlier, the 2 words that you are Trump, but, really, honestly, let's get it's just, and DeSantis defended Trump tonight, by the way, from the Russia crap, because that was crap, that Russia stuff. All right, a lot of the rest of this Trump has just stepped in it. But I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready for this. I'm ready for this election to happen. It's time. It's been time. Are you guys ready for this? Okay. Got Christmas coming up, and then we've got Iowa caucus on January 15th. And then after that, it's New Hampshire the next Tuesday. And then Nevada, South Carolina. And guys, this primary is going to be going into the year. This isn't going to be wrapped up. It might not even be wrapped up Super Tuesday. This is going to be going for a while. All right. and but it's time to get to voting, because I'm sick of the poll. Enough with the polls. Enough with the crap. Trump used the polls to be able to get out of the debate, and his supporters have embraced this idea that, well, if 4 years ago the polls were BS, but today they're gospel truth, and they mean that you cannot debate. That gives you the right to forfeit your ability to be on stage. But I think that debate was great. Props to Megyn Kelly. Good job asking about Operation Warp Speed. I don't think she was supposed to do that. I'll bet you that she didn't even tell people that she was going to do that. I think they probably gave the debate hosts a question they could ask on their own. And I don't think Megyn Kelly told anybody that she was doing that. I think she decided to be brave, to be bold, and to ask that question. So good for her on that. Shame on Rumble. Don't watch Rumble. If you're subscribed to Rumble or anything like that, cancel it. Cancel it. They're censoring vaccine stuff now because it doesn't benefit Trump. When it helped them to not censor vaccine stuff and help build their platform, they weren't. But now that they want, they're kissing up to a candidate. They're like Turning Point USA. They're like all these organizations. That's pathetic. To cut to a break. That's like 1984 stuff. That's like in what's the movie with the guy in the Guy Fawkes mask? V for Vendetta. Remember when that guy would say anything they didn't like, they would just cut the commercials. They would just cut it out. That's what Rumble just did. They just told you we're embracing censorship. Rumble has embraced censorship. Very sad. A so-called free speech platform would do that. Ron DeSantis, there he is, guys. He's yours. How many people are still watching? 15 people still watching on here, and then 17 watching other places. It's 33 people still watching. Thank you guys for tuning in. Please like and share this stream around. It's been great to be with you. My name is Chris Nelson, and that wraps it up for the debates. Guys, the choice is clear. Ron DeSantis just grand slam tonight, and now it's time to go cast your votes. This is Chris Nelson. Oh, wait, hold on a second. I gotta do this. There we go. Thanks for giving me the love. I just got a lovey thing. Oh, I'm going back to the comments. Yeah, okay. I got a couple comments. All right. Thank you for all your comments. Thank you, Social Spectrum. Thank you, Kim F. Thank you, other people who watched. Thank you, Anne-Marie. Screw you guys who said I was talking too much. You can watch it elsewhere. I'm feeling good. I don't know about you. But I'm feeling good. Are you feeling good, Panther? He's sleeping. It's kitty cat patio time. Yeah. He's sleeping. I'm feeling good. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Hanukkah starts tomorrow. Happy Hanukkah to Jewish people out there celebrating Hanukkah. And Merry Christmas. Oh, Broward schools tried to, somebody challenged the Bible. And they tried to have the Bible taken out of the school libraries. I didn't even know it was in the school libraries, but it's nice to know. They failed, and the Bible's in Broward libraries. It's pretty cool. Good night, everybody.